ladies and gentlemen, boys and the girls, welcome to the Ringcast, episode 2. My name is Zach. I'm joined by Mark, Pete, Danny, and our special guest, M4, to talk about the Fellowship of the Ring, some amazing new Lord of the Rings collectibles, and more.
Michael Vanning.
Welcome. It's been a month since we've been here, and I'm so excited to be back in Middle Earth with my sweet angels. Before we get into news and releases, we got Equan in the chat. He says, "My Govan and y'all." Let's talk about some things that we've picked up. So we'll talk about the M4 edit a little bit later in the show, and that's obviously why we have Alex here. But we did finally get our final copies of the M4 Blu-ray order. Mark was nice enough to pick up some clear Blu-ray cases for us, and this is how they turned out. So we got Alex's amazing art there on the front.
Looking great.
And I thought I would be a little cheeky and get, since we're doing clear cases, we printed a kind of like a reverse art on the inside of Bilbo stepping out the door. And Alex, what do you think about this set, man? Your disc came out great, bro.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I think the discs are like above my expectations because, you know, printing them at home is never quite as good as like getting a company to do it. So that's great. And then also, yeah, I thought it was really good with the inside art that you guys came up with. Like, it just looks perfect. So props with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Pete, I think we're going to be getting your Blu-ray shipped here pretty soon. And then Mark and Danny, same as well. But I'm super excited for how these turned out. And I think for episode 3 of the Ringcast, we're going to be giving away a set. It won't have this clear case, but it'll be a really nice looking set with the discs printed. As far as other things that I got between last show and now, I picked up the Asmus V1 Gandalf. I got this for a stupid deal. It was like $200 shipped, and you know, based on how big the box the guy sent it and how he shipped it, I gotta imagine shipping was probably like $40. So you know, definitely a decent figure. I do have the Crown series coming, but I got impatient and I kind of just wanted to have 2 Gandalfs. This one also has a bunch of stuff that's specific to the Hobbit, so like the staff, and I just like, I don't know, I got impatient, and I know you guys know how that feels. And what do you think about this, Mark? Do you think it's a pretty good pickup for $200?
No, well, I sometimes I feel bad for people that are selling, because you bought it on eBay, right?
Yeah.
You almost feel bad for that person, because if he sold it for $200, I mean, he probably, by the time he shipped it, he banked what, $120?
Probably, because shipping plus fees and everything else.
Yeah. And for some reason, I don't know what it is with the eyes, and it's in the movie. I mean, of course, he's older in real life, but his eyes look just a little bit more sunken in. You know, and everything looks a little bit more sunken in. I mean, it could be the saturation of the movie. And Alex's edit kind of helps it a little bit. But this like when you look at this, it looks more like the Hobbit Gandalf. You know what I mean? So it's nice to have that second version because it looks like the Hobbit version.
Because I picked this one because obviously this is from the Hobbit, but it's one of those weird things where obviously he should look younger than older, but because they made it look like Ian McKellen, you know, that much older. So it's a bit of a it's a bit of a weird one. I wasn't a fan of the sculpt. The rest of it is fantastic, and I'd be interested to know how much of it is actually the same as the Crown one. I think a lot of it probably is.
Yeah, I believe a lot of it is. I know the shoes are for sure much improved.
Right.
Doug
I know
Collector
the belt
says,
is, I think, the belt's different.
yeah. Collector says, I don't collect Lord of the Rings, but came by to support the stream. What a guy. And I had an interesting experience with this, so I made myself a little diorama base just because I was bored one day. And I also took it upon myself to reroute it. So the stock hair looked okay, but it's really thin. There's only like maybe 20 little tufts of hair, so it's way, way, way too thin.
Yeah, and also real quick, that's the promo shot. The picture in like the one you got in hand originally looked like somebody's grandmother's hair. You know what I mean? It was it was really raggedy. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody's grandmother out there.
Yeah, the rooting process, these are 2 that didn't do so well. I had 0 experience, and I messaged Pete, and I was like, bro, give me some tips on rooting. He's like, just glue it. I was like, you fucking asshole. That's all the advice you could give me? Motherfucker just had to glue it. So I watched some videos and I didn't do so well to begin with. And after 7 or 8 tries, I came up with this, and I was pretty happy with it. I don't claim to be an expert in rooting by any means, but I think it's serviceable enough to like hold me over until I get the Crown Series, and then hopefully Asmus will reissue the head sculpt like they promised, and then I'll have.
I was being deliberately pedantic because I hate doing it, and I've done it a few times, and I did it with my Gandalf. You end up with as much of the hair stuck all over your hands and your fingers than on the actual figure, and then you get all the little dots of glue that you think you don't see until it dries, and then you start picking them out. And I don't like doing it, and it's not something that I find particularly easy. So I've just been a bit like, yeah, just glue it. But yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, and obviously, hopefully, we're still going to get the option to upgrade to the new head as owners of the original figure. But as yet, we're still waiting.
Certificate of authenticity.
Yeah, we're still waiting to hear from Asmus on that. But they're still putting the figure out, so I think until that's done, we'll have to wait.
This is some of the product they use. So there's an eBay seller called More Z More.
That's where I buy mine from.
Yeah, they sell Tibetan lamb fur, specifically for dolls. I bought the premium grade, which was only like $11 shipped for a pretty nice amount of it. They do have like subgrades that you could get for like $4, and then to attach it, I've seen some people use super glue. I've seen some people use tacky glue, and I've seen most people use Beacon Fabri-Tac. It's a permanent fabric adhesive, and it has a pretty decent working time before it really sets. It's about a few hours before it sets, but it's tacky enough that when you put the hair down, you kind of get that hold. And Pete mentioned a great thing there about when you get these little white spots in the hair.
Yeah.
I thought you were pretty much screwed at that point, but I didn't realize that this stuff, the Fabri-Tac, it can be removed with acetone.
Right.
So you just get a little bit of acetone and kind of brush it in the hair, and it'll actually dissolve those little dandruffy things. Not that these two are worth saving by any means, but it is a thing. Because on this one, there was one tiny bit in the front that I got out, but I was kind of freaking out about having to redo it.
Yeah.
I hope at one point to get an actual Ian McKellen sculpt and then do a video of rooting it. I think I feel confident enough to try that. So stay tuned for that potentially on The Joy of Hobbying. But I'm really proud of how this came out, and like I said, I don't claim to be an expert, but I think it's much improved over the original. I also picked up from Etsy this One Ring replica. This guy, sells them for a pretty reasonable price. I think the most expensive part was the shipping from Italy. And it's painted with like an orange paint, but the paint is fluorescent, so when you, or I guess glow in the dark, so when you put it under UV light, it glows for not super long, like a minute or two. But the glow effect actually does look pretty good if you get it under some good UV light. And I think Mark was going to pick this one up off of me so that I could get one that's a little bit bigger size because my fat fingers don't fit this one. But the quality, for like $33, is like pretty decent. Do any of you guys have any of the One Ring replicas, either licensed or otherwise?
Yeah, I actually do. I have a little mini collection of Lord of the Rings items, and I got the ring, the key from The Hobbit, and then actually I got from Etsy a map of or Thor's map of Erebor, which is pretty cool. And
did you get the one that lights up?
I did not. I just got, it was like a normal
in the moonlight.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
There's one that lights up with UV. It looks fucking sick.
Yeah.
Now, how long does the actual glow in the dark? How long does it stay lit? You know what I mean? Is it like that early '90s baseball card kind of glow where it's like 2 minutes, or does it last like a?
I'll be completely honest. It lights up really good for a few seconds, and then it's very faint. Like I have an Omega watch, and when you light it up, it'll light like super crazy for like maybe 5 minutes. And then for a few hours, it'll be like you can actually read it visibly. This is not that, right? Yeah. It definitely drops hard. But it's kind of like you should, for a second you look at it and then I don't know. I do wish it was more phosphorescent, but I think because he wanted it to still have that orange color when it wasn't exposed to light, I'm wondering if that's what it was. And I've thought about trying to buy a nicer paint and just rubbing it in there, but it just looks so good because it really does look like it looks in the movie, just for a few seconds. But yeah, this was a great little pickup. And then my wife, if you're a Patreon, she did a Gandalf art print, and the file's online. You just go to Patreon and you should be able to download it. But her Instagram is Victoria with 3 A's at the end, Tunes. And if you want to check out some of her work in progress on this piece of artwork, I think it's definitely a pretty good sculpt. I think, Mark, you said you were going to try to get it printed.
Yeah, I have it downloaded. I just haven't had a chance to get to Walmart yet.
Yeah,
but I
looks
mean,
fucking dope.
I'm. The thing is, I don't have anything Gandalf the White really.
Yeah,
but this makes me really want the Crown Series Gandalf the White to come out.
Dude,
which I mean, they already have the body and the sculpt. You just make everything white,
Yeah, I'm waiting for that
So
one too.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Equan says, I got to get me one of those rings. We got Mario Cortez in the chat, too. Eddie Mendez took as well. Bunch of angels. Mark, tell us about what you got.
Yeah, I got the. I finally got the Gandalf the Gray Crown Series, man. And I bought it from Danny. I really appreciate it. And Danny kept it like pretty much everything in the box. I mean, as much as I love unwrapping everything, if I had that in hand, there's no way that thing wouldn't have been fondled. But but the two things that were like the biggest surprise to me. I mean, I knew I've had asthma, so I know the fabric was going to be good. I knew that the sword was going to be die cast. But the hair, I mean, right out of the box. Now, I understand I have to do the cream or whatever the hair product is.
Yeah, the curling lotion.
I have to do the curling lotion. But, I mean, if you look at the lines and just the way it fits around his face, it looks beautiful. It looks like he just got his hair straightened, but, I mean, it looks fantastic. And then the base, I don't even know why I didn't, before I bought it, before I got it from Danny, I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention to reviews. I was just staring at the head sculpt too much. I had no idea that the base had Bilbo's gate with the mailbox. I don't know. I completely missed it. So yeah, so it was a complete and utter surprise. Now it's very jumbled, like it's real tight to Gandalf, but that was probably the biggest. That was probably the most impressive and biggest surprise, because to me that I get nostalgic for certain very little scenes. Certain things are very okay. That's Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? If you just showed me I'm thinking about putting a no admittance, except on party business, post out on my wall, out on my front lawn. You know what I mean?
That's
it's
cool.
Like,
that'd be cool.
Because it literally, to me, that's when I see that I think of Middle Earth. I think of Hobbiton. You know what I mean? So this is right there. I said, when I was unboxing it, I said it was right there with the DX07. But as of right now, I'd probably say this is and of course it's I got it. It's my newer. It's newer. But right now, this is the number one figure in my collection.
Wow.
I mean, number one. I mean, I've picked this thing up and I've brushed it. I've petted him more than I petted the cat. You know what I mean? And I love the cat, but...
Do you know what's funny? In that top left corner, he looks more like Bayon than
Bayon,
Gandalf.
How dare you.
It's funny because it actually makes me want a couple of the dwarves. You know what I mean? But they're not. They did Thorin. They did a great job on Thorin, but there's no way they're gonna do.
Thorin's on Big Man Toy Store.
Yeah, he's a great figure. I've got him. Yeah.
Mark is like, I'm about to go buy it right now.
I have a question about the rooted hair. Like, if you brush it too much, is there a chance that it's gonna go bald?
Yes.
So, so Mark, stop.
Go gentle.
But I haven't had a single hair come off of him though.
Wow.
Which is weird because I've had other rooted stuff. But the one thing was say, like, I have the Galadriel, and the Galadriel, her hair looks really good, but it just seems really thin. You know what I mean? Like when it's up to the light, it looks like, her hair's falling out a little bit. But with that Gandalf, that hair's, dude, I hope my hair is that thick.
Wow.
So.
You also got a new pre-order that you committed to?
The boy's done it. He done it.
Dude, Mark is fucking like
Mark's
dropping stacks. This morning he's like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you a behind the scenes of the last show. Last show we're supposed to start at 3:00. Not this show. So it's 4. We're supposed to start at 3:00, and we didn't get recording till like almost like 5, because Mark's computer was just falling apart. And he's like, "Fuck it." So this morning he bought like $1,000 computer just for the show. Fucking baller.
What a man.
What a man.
Well,
But anyways, back to the Prime One. What do you got going on here, buddy?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's from Big Bad Toy Store, so you're getting the $4 shipping, and it was $12.99, so it's $1,300. I hope nobody in my family is listening to this.
Jesus.
But the deposit was $266, so no payment plan, just $266. So I went.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Do we lose Mark? I think his internet cut out.
I hope you kept that $1,000 receipt for the computer.
I don't think it was the computer. Here, let's move on. We'll get Mark back here in a second.
Oh, he's back.
Am I back?
Oh, yeah,
Maybe it's-
I think your internet cut out for a second. Okay, so Balrog, $1,000, $1,300.
Yeah,
Nice.
and
Sweet.
I've actually, I mean, literally since I've been seeing this, I've been looking at prints of the Balrog. I've been looking at all kinds of other stuff they made, and I couldn't help myself but to get this. And I'm actively searching for. They actually have a lot of pretty good looking prints. I saw one that was like it had all the firelight effect was white, and everything else was black, and it was lit up behind it, and it looked fantastic. But it was like a 8x11. So I'm trying to figure out
Wow.
a backdrop for this bad boy. But man, dude, I can't
What
wait. It's coming this year.
What a statue.
Wow. Yeah.
And you went Lego crazy.
I went Lego crazy. I spent hundreds of dollars.
You spent tens of dollars for the family listening.
Yeah.
So what sets did you get? Let's walk through these real quick.
So to get the fellowship, because when I saw that you had gotten 12 of the 13 dwarves, I said I got to get the fellowship.
Oh, they're cheeky, they're Lego, aren't they?
Yeah, they're cheeky because like certain minifigures are like $60, $70. So I said, okay, well, hell, I'll just buy the whole set. So this set, it was $100 and some dollars. I mean, I don't like talking numbers. I don't like talking numbers where people can hear. And then I got the Battle of the Black Gate. The only problem is when you're buying Lego sets, just pay the extra money for the 100% complete. They don't have to be in box, but just the guarantee for 100% complete. Because this guy had the number of the pieces that were missing. Well, I didn't. I was like, dude, I can't wait to get Gandalf the White on Gwai here. Well, here Gwai here was missing his wings. I'm like, shit.
Motherfucker, what?
I got a wingless bird. Everything else was 100% except the mouth of Sauron was missing his legs. So I was like, son of a bitch. Which I didn't. I don't care about that. I was like, oh, I can't wait to fly around the house with Gandalf a wingless bird. And these sets, like this set, I was away for work, and this set came in. My wife put it together, and she was texting me pictures and saying how much she loved this set.
Your wife is such an angel, bro.
She puts up with me. The fact that she sleeps in the same house as me is
In the same bed, no less.
she's got terrible taste. And like this set, this is the only
Shelob
set.
attacks.
This is the only set that had Samwise in it. Now this is an
Really?
expensive. This is
Shelob / Aragog.
Yeah, Mark, read the set name for the people listening to the audio.
what's I can't read it.
The set name, Shelob Attack.
I don't have it. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, well, it's from Return of the King.
Oh, from Return. Oh yeah, it's from Return of the King. But but so then I just bought this set so this set cost me $60, and I literally just bought it for Sam, because I don't care about.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't hate I don't hate anything. But what the hell do I want a Lego Spider for? You know what I mean? I mean, it's a great set. Otherwise, I guess it's not a great set, because it's like the fifth time I have like 5 Gollum figures and like 10 Frodos.
Jeez,
And
hook
one
me up with a
Sam.
Gollum, bro.
Yeah. I have a Gollum. I have the Well, we'll get to that. But the Attack on Weathertop. This is the only way to get the Mary figure.
Dude,
So
that sucks. You have to buy all these fucking.
They do this
spent-
all the time though, and it's not so bad if you bought them
No.
all when they were new, because it wouldn't
Yeah.
have cost you too much. But
So I spent $100.
Fuck, man.
I spent $100 on Mary, and I got a couple Black Riders. So,
Jesus
but
Christ, bro.
but
Damn.
if you want 9 Black Riders, you'd have to buy 5 of these sets. So you got to spend
Fucking
$500.
shit.
yeah,
So when you see
It's
people with
fucking
those large
wild.
dioramas, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's your Gandalf and Balrog.
That's
Beautiful.
my.
Dude, I can't wait for you to get that.
Danny, tell us what you got, what you're ordering, or what you're thinking about.
Well, this is just what I'm thinking about. I was thinking about getting into the 1/6 Weta Workshop statues because I have like some. My displays are 1/6 scale cases, so I'm kind of limited to that scale. So I was thinking about going into this and Gandalf Gray Pilgrim, I guess, or Pilgrim Gray. This one recently just came out, so you can still get them for like 300, 350 ish. So I was thinking about dipping into this. But then I started looking at the older figures that were like sold out. If you go to the next slides,
Yeah,
it's like,
that's a
oh my
sick
god,
statue, bro.
these things are like all these armored figures that I'm into. They're like up in like the 700 to $900 now in the aftermarket or secondary market.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'm
a
interested,
slippery
but
slope.
yeah, I don't know yet. But I'm
The only
hoping
thing.
with a workshop.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I hope Weta Workshop revisits the 1/6 because it seems like they're doing like a second pass on some of these characters, the main characters.
Yeah.
Well, when you showed me those, Danny, I never saw any of those statues except the Gandalf. Not a single one of them. So it was very surprising to me. I was like, oh shit, they're really dropping some stuff.
Yeah, the Gandalf is. I guess they came out less than a year ago.
Yeah.
Like they just did a Fellowship Aragorn, but that one went. That's on like waitlist everywhere now, sold out.
The only thing that bothers me, and I'm sure maybe M4 can tell me if I'm wrong, because he's the expert on the Hobbit, because this is clearly the Hobbit Gandalf.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the hand wraps, and I'm almost certain in every scene he has the hand wraps.
Oh yeah.
I've definitely noticed he does
And it
have
bothers
them,
me.
especially at the start of the movie, but I haven't paid attention throughout.
I need to double check the first scene, but I'm almost certain he does.
Oh yeah,
That-
yeah. He
Literally,
does in
I
the
was
first
like
scene, but
hovering the mouse on the order button, and then I was like, wait a second, why does he have the hand wraps? And then derailed me.
Dude, the hand wraps
Totally
did it for you.
Well, literally, I can't
Bro,
unsee
you
it
can
now
make
that
it
you
up.
said it.
If the fucking I got the other Asmith or Weta, it was like $60 for that statue. That motherfucker has hand wraps. It bothered me, bro. It really bothered me. It was like the respect, right? I don't know. This is a beautiful statue, though. There's only
Maybe I
like
won't get it then.
no. This is Danny. This is a great set. There's only like 2 or 3
Draw them
reviews
on,
of it.
Danny.
Yeah, right. Sculpt them with like so fucking. There's only like 2 or 3 reviews on YouTube about it, but dude, this
Yeah, I
thing looks
wanted to
fucking
see.
beautiful.
I would want to see it in hand probably before I definitely pull the trigger. I guess.
Our buddy, the everyday collector John, would really love these because the one thing Weta does is, man, they limit their stuff to a number, and it's always like it's never a high number. Like their higher things are like 500 to 1,000. So that's like
Yeah.
the good. That's like the good. Like you know when you're getting it that you're not going to see it again. I mean,
A
that
majority
version.
of them do go to waitlist sell out.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
so you're just gonna have to wait on a different version. You know what I mean? You're never gonna get that same. If that's what you want, you got to, you got to pay the price.
Yeah, definitely looks great. What else do we got here? Are you ready to get into? Or actually, Pete, did you get anything from Lord of the Rings?
Nope.
What about you, M4?
no, nothing with me. I mean, I said I have those little props, but I don't really
Yeah.
have any collection.
Which you said you had the key. Is that the one
Yeah.
from the Noble collection?
I honestly don't remember. I got it when I was like like in 8th grade or something from my parents.
wee
so
lad?
this was quite a while ago. Yeah, I think it was just one of the official Actually,
Damn,
probably
dude.
not because those are expensive. I don't know.
No,
But
no.
it-
The
it's
Noble,
pretty
the
cool.
Noble collection one was only like $20 when it came out.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it could have been that.
Wow.
But
look
yeah,
at
my
this.
favorite one is the map that I have. I got it from someone on Etsy who like made it hand drawn. It's pretty
That's
cool.
fucking dope, bro.
I like to
I
keep
tried
it
to-
with my edit. Yeah.
I tried to print one and like weather it, and it fucking turned out awful. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy the $30 one. Mark, tell us about this, the Amazon Lord of the Rings teaser photo.
Yeah, and this is the most trashed series that has yet to come out. But they finally dropped this teaser, and they said the first episode will be September 2nd, 2022, which was like when I saw this picture, I got real excited until I found out it was September 2nd, 2022. But the one thing I kind of realized, I don't know why I realized it. I don't know why I know this. but Tolkien died on September the 2nd. So that's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of like weird, you know.
Yeah.
But this is definitely, I mean, this has to be Valinor, right? Because of the two trees. But they said already that the show is going to take place during the Second Age. That they're I guess they're not allowed, or they're not going to touch the First Age or the Third Age. Now, if this is Valinor, the trees fall during the First Age, so this has to be a flashback. You know? And then there's been, I kind of started watching videos today of like who's the person in the white. And some people, you can't tell whether it's a man or a woman. You know what I mean? Some people think it's Galadriel.
I think it's a man.
And that's why I said I think it's a man too. That's why I said, you know, one of those you look around the corner like, oh, is she hot? And you're like, oh, you look real quick, you're like, oh, that might be a guy.
I thought it was Krennic.
And listen, we're in it's 2021, man. You can't assume anything. So
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm just gonna go off the picture. Now, when I was thinking, oh, cool, the fall of Valinor, that would be cool. But that's during the First Age, so there's no way they would show that. But if they're touching on, this is the Valar. The Valar are the people that control. You know, they're the ones that look over Middle Earth. You know what I mean? They're the ones that the Eagles go to. They're the ones that sent Mithrandir, you know, the Great Pilgrim Gandalf, to fight Sauron. You know what I mean? So there's so much they could do during the Second Age that it's one of those things that's really exciting because you're finally getting news. But at the same time, I have no idea what the show's going to be about still. You know what I mean? Because this could mean anything. So,
yeah.
Who knows? To me, it was really exciting. The image looks beautiful. I don't know if this is anything about how the show will look. You know what I mean? Or if this is
I think
just art.
This is taken out of a production. Still.
Now, if this show is going to be on this landscape, you know what I mean? That fills my boys. You know what I'm saying? That does it for
Jesus.
me. So,
Pete, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it looks cool. Yeah, I think it goes without saying that the amount of money they've spent on this show, there's a hell of a lot of expectation about it, and yeah, I'm excited for it. To be honest, I'm going to kind of come at it with open eyes and give it a chance, because I think if it is Second Age, it's something that we there's not so much, unless you've read some of the kind of indices and some of the other stuff, then it's not as well known as what we're talking about on here mainly. So I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air, really. Yeah.
Danny,
what do you think, Danny?
Oh, I'm excited for this picture. This is what I've been waiting for. Kind of, is like I wanted to see the Second Age, like the elves in their heyday, I guess, in Middle Earth, because it seems like Third Earth, when we're in the Third Age, all the elves are leaving.
Yeah. Alex, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for the show. I've heard, there's a lot of controversy about, from Tolkien fans about if it's going to be good or whatnot. But I think I'm just going to go in it with an open mind and see what it's like, because I'm pretty into the books and Tolkien lore. But it's still interesting to see an adaptation in someone else's vision. And I've heard it's not going to be following it like with Peter Jackson's vision, so that should be interesting. I mean, the picture does remind me of something possibly PJ could have come up with, but we'll see, what it's like. And maybe a M4 edit of the show if it's
wow.
But no, I don't know. I don't want to say that yet. But if it's seems like there could be something, but we'll see.
I think this looks beautiful. I'll be honest, I've intentionally not read that much into this show because I really want to kind of go into it with an open mind. But this looks beautiful. Looks like a fucking Magic the Gathering card.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
But real quick, I'm 100% with you on this one, Zach. When we're all Star Wars fans in this group of friends here, and it's like the stuff got picked so apart that it exhausts me just thinking about speculating on stuff like that. It's so much better to just go in day one of the episode. I love stuff like this, a little teaser. It gives me something to think about. But I don't like writing the story before it happens, because then you're setting up these expectations of what you're going to have in your mind, and it's never going to fit that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with Alex and Zach, you just got to open mind and just enjoy it, because It's better than nothing. No
Yeah,
matter what
don't
it
check
is.
the Reddits about this show or anything.
God.
Everybody's blowing everything up out of proportion. I don't know if you
Motherfuckers
guys
were
saw
doing
anything
3-hour
about that.
live streams on this one fucking picture.
Yeah.
How the fuck you could talk so long about one fucking picture?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited though. Equan says the amount of money spent on the show is insane, record breaking. Brian P says this is why Mark wasn't answering my text. Wow,
Oh, that's my brother.
what a guy. This was really cool. The Lord of the Rings Hobbit 4K box set. You get the theatrical and expanded editions of each film for both trilogies, a 250-page book, a One Ring replica with premium light-up Mordor display, and a replica of the key to Erebor. So that's really cool. Mark, do you know how much this one costs?
They
by
didn't. They
chance?
didn't give a price yet. But they said, yeah. But they said that the pre-orders. I don't even think the pre-order drops till October. That's the thing. I was looking for details on this because I didn't want to come in here,
Not cheap. I
empty-handed.
think UK Amazon had it for £250.
Fuck, dude.
So that's gonna be
Yeah.
about like $300.
You'll probably get it for $250. That's kind of how it works.
Oh, is that how it works? I
That's
don't
a
know
lot
how
for them.
your dollar works.
Because they just released them in 4K recently, so I don't understand why.
They always said
This
that
needs this?
they would be doing this, so they didn't kind of they were quite transparent about it and didn't kind of con people. But I think it's just because this has got all the extras and stuff as well. It says
Yeah.
it's some all new special features. And obviously, you get the book and everything. I mean, I'm quite happy with my 4K sets, and I won't be upgrading to this. But obviously, if you didn't go for those and you can get it for a decent price, it looks like a
Yeah.
like a
I
nice
think
set.
the main draw with this is that it comes with both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, all the extended edition special features that weren't on the
Yeah.
original 4K releases, and then
Correct.
yeah, they
Yeah.
said that there's going to be new special features, and we don't know what those are, but
Wow.
I'm theorizing that that could possibly be unused footage or deleted scenes because Peter Jackson has talked about multiple times that he would love to do a re-release like whatever 25 years later and include all of that, and obviously it hasn't been that long, but I mean this would be their chance to do it, so
Yeah.
I'll be looking out for that.
And then all the Hobbit editors will get super
Oh, yeah.
excited, and you can
Yeah, a
make
bunch
the
of green
M4 edit
screens.
part 2.
Yeah.
There you go. There was a guy in your Discord that was looking for green screen footage to finish some scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how dedicated you guys are with the edits. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's always an option with the deleted scenes with the green screens, but I don't think it's quite. We're not quite at the level where we can pull off something that looks professional with that.
Yeah.
But you never know. You know, things have gone crazy with deep fakes, so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, for $250, Key better fucking work. This was the Prime 1 Nazgul. Mark, tell us about it.
Yeah, they dropped this with all the other stuff, and this is where they're on the top of Weathertop right before he stabs Frodo. So he's got the Nazgul blade in his one hand, but I think that's the bonus item because otherwise
to
it's just
swap
a
out,
reaching
yeah.
hand.
It's his normal
Yeah.
sword
So-
in the left hand, isn't it?
But to me, it's not a tie. It's not like a deal breaker to not have that. You know what I mean? Because I kind of like the reaching hand more, to
Yeah.
be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, if you're going to give me the option of for the same price, you know. And the only thing, because we had talked about it when, I don't know if we just discussed it in the chat group, but we talked about how the other 4 ring wraiths were chasing after Gandalf in the book. So
Yeah.
you would expect the other 5 there. Well, the base is awesome as hell, but it only has 3. And I was like, man, how much effort would it have took? I guess it shouldn't matter because it looks awesome. To me, it looks awesome. I love, even if it's all just, it looks awesome. But
if you put
I would
5
love
more-
to have just that one more ring wraith.
Well, no,
to have
he's
all
saying if you
5
put
of them.
if you put one more, you would have like the
Oh, okay.
full from
Yeah,
the scene.
because they have the 3 at the bottom. So if you had a 4th, then it would represent all 5 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but again, that's just something I picked up afterwards, and I was like, it would have been nice. But this is one when we were talking about thinking about the Witch King when he gets his armor though. That to me is like the ultimate. So I was like, I always wanted like a nice, cool ring wraith representation. You know what I mean? They're so cool in the movies. They're much cooler in the movies than in the books. But to get that like that helmet, that Witch King helmet, that's really what I want. So I'm kind of on the fence because I do love the base and this looks awesome. And this is I think this is $1,100.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have it written down here somewhere. Man, but again, I also I'm kind of like I have kind of a deal in place for another statue that I won't talk about here.
Wow.
Until next time. That's why I said I'm so deep in it to where I gotta pull back.
Wait, is it the one from Facebook?
I'm gonna have to have my wife take my card away from me. So
Wait, can we talk about that? I actually kind of wanted to talk about that one if you don't mind.
yeah, we can.
Wait,
talk
the one
about
I
it.
sent you?
Katrina, turn away, please.
Because it's the Witch King. By
Oh boy, by Sideshow Premium
Sideshow.
Format?
Yeah, the premium format statue. Because
Dude.
when you were talking, it's funny. You were probably thinking about it when I was talking about it, Zach. Because that Witch King, that helmet, dude, that image. Now listen, the one of the coolest scenes, like, just oh my gosh, it gets me hard thinking about it.
I know
is
his blood's he's getting all red.
When Eowyn cuts off the head of the fell beast, and then the wing in the movie, the wing comes down, and then it's like it reveals. It's almost like a curtain coming down, and then you see the Witch King standing there, and he's got that giant ass mace. Oh man,
Makes it pee-pee hard.
oh my god, it does, dude. It's hot
What
here.
a guy.
So I'm in talks. I'm in talks to get that now. So we'll see what happens.
So are you guys negotiating, or are you just gonna pay what he wants?
It's a me pick it up thing because I'm not paying shipping for that.
Wait, so what? Can you tell us kind of like if he gave you a deal on it? Because we told you to like kind of
Talk
give
him
him
down.
a real talk him down. Did he talk him down, or was he pretty firm?
It's a decent price. It came
Wow.
down. He came down a little bit, not as much as I wanted to, not as much when
Wow.
you're talking about a 2.5 hour drive. But I've been
Wow.
doing that for work this last couple.
Did you give him a
weeks, and-
deposit?
No, I didn't give him a deposit yet. That's why I didn't want to talk about it yet. I don't want to jinx it. And now here I am talking about it because it gets me excited. It gets me excited.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy for you, bro. I'm
Thanks,
super
brother.
happy for you.
Dude, when
Now
I
you gotta
saw
get
that,
that-
that's the first thing I thought about was you.
Oh yeah, I know. You sent it to me, dude. I was a little pissed off at you when you sent it to me.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, man, not now. I got two kids
Yeah,
to
but
feed.
you don't see them come up that much because they're
No.
older statues.
No, and you can't buy stuff like that on Facebook. Zach got a great deal on the Sideshow.
Dude, I got a stupid deal.
That stuff, you can only find that stuff when you look at previously sold listings because when that shit pops up, it is gone instantly. And I can't spend all day on eBay. You know what I mean? It just never happens, and it's people that not really realizing what stuff's valued at. So
Yeah.
when you see a deal, sometimes you just you gotta grab it by the balls.
I'm proud of you, bro. Now you got to
Thanks,
get the Gandalf the White premium format.
Let's let the bank account sit for a day.
Yeah, let it rest. Your card's like all fucking exhausted.
I'm waiting for my bank to call me and to flag me.
We got some fucking dude buying all this fucking. Is this you? This was really cool. The Weta Nazgul Masterpiece diorama. This is 1/6 scale. $2,400, limited to 500, sold out pretty much everywhere instantly. This is from the Fellowship of the Ring, and I gotta say, masterpiece Weta stuff. Sells out quick, and it goes for very high prices in the secondary market. This is a fucking grail piece.
Yeah.
It's a grail piece. I really love every single piece that they've done in this line. I don't love this scene enough that I wanted to put in on it, but I was very tempted. For me, if I was going to buy one of these, it would probably be the Gandalf with Frodo in the cart. But holy shit, this is tempting.
Yeah, I mean, and literally, it's one of those where you're thinking about it so hard that you kind of want to know that it's available, and then you get that FOMO. But when you get FOMO at $2,400, it literally it makes you rethink your life because. I found it on a website. I'm not even gonna tell you guys on here because I don't want it to get out.
Dude,
But
to
there's
take one.
But every website when I went to go check it because when we were doing a show sheet, it was all sold out. And I mean,
Wait, you got one?
no, I didn't get no.
Katrina, stop listening.
No. But on
The
the one
man speak.
the one website, it was still available and it had free shipping.
Oh, wow.
So. Yeah, I don't even
Put
I
it in
don't
the
think-
private chat.
No, okay. maybe in the private chat, not the YouTube chat.
Because you gotta watch out which e-tailers too. They might be.
Oh, it's a bigger one. That's why I was
Okay.
surprised. But one I didn't think about until I just was randomly when I was looking for the Balrog art prints, I found it, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know they sold this. I'll text it in the Ringcast chat.
Wow, top secret.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, Danny?
Dude, I think this looks amazing, but the price is a little too steep. Just like you, I think it's like a great scene. I mean, it's a cool scene, but not cool enough for me to spend $2,400 on. But I mean, like
Fake
it just
fan.
just the details amazing on everything. The horse, the ring wraith, the roots. Like you even have
Little
a
rabbit.
bunny. There's like a bunny in there, and
Yeah, the
the only
broken
thing that's a
carrot.
little weird is I know it's accurate how they look, but they still like most of the hobbits look goofy except for I think Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
he looks goofy anyway.
Frodo,
Like
100.
Frodo just looks like he's
He's doing
like
the
a-
O face. He's doing
Yeah.
the I just finished face. Yeah,
Busting a nut.
100%. And
but everything else looks amazing.
I'm gonna do that face to my wife later.
Wow.
Oh god.
The
Will you
Frodo
tell
do-
her you're gonna spend
Frodo
$2,400 on this?
Frodo doing the ring, and I'm gonna do the face.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll
No,
get
he's
me
beautiful.
cut off real quick.
Where are Prime One based? Are they a US company?
Well, this is Weta, so Weta's based in New Zealand.
Oh, I see. This is Weta. Yes, that's New
Yeah,
Zealand.
but they have shipping factories all over the world. Mm-hmm. So they
Yeah,
ship
see, this
from-
is again where I think being in the UK, this really kills us here because you appreciate that we pay quite a lot more for like 1/6 scale figures than you guys do in the States. So to buy something like this, it would be probably £2,500. We tend to pay in pounds what you guys pay in dollars, and I couldn't even contemplate thinking about buying something like this. Not for those sort of prices. And even that,
Wow.
I was looking at that Weta Sauron. It's
Yeah.
just it's £1,000, and it's getting beyond my kind of pay grade, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel bad for Pete because I sent him the mithril coat from Frodo, and I mean I literally sent it in an envelope and it was like $17. I'm like,
Yeah,
man, I can
yeah.
only and I had to sign a bunch of stuff that it was a gift because otherwise he would have to pay more.
Yeah,
I'm like,
There's a
man.
lot of paperwork on it. Yeah.
I was like, imagine sending a birthday card.
yeah.
So did you get it, Pete?
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, it's
on
not
the
like
figure.
it's
You
a little.
never know
chi-
it was on there, but I know it's on there. So
Yeah, it's a
Top
little.
man.
It was a little chintzy, but I mean, I think as an effect for the mouth of Sauron holding it or anything like that, I think it's a cool effect.
yeah, no, it's
I
the
wouldn't
best
put
they
it
could
on
do
photo.
with at that scale. But yeah, that's cool.
Hopefully we don't tempt you to buy any of these expensive statues M4. That's the last thing you need to do is get
I
into
think, I
collecting.
think I'm
bro.
holding off for now.
It's the last thing you need to do. Last up on the releases, this is the Iron Studios 1/10 scale Witch King, shown yesterday at Inside Iron Studios Day. I think it looks great. I love the diorama, love the feast, but I mean, this is probably going to be like $250. So to me, it just kills any desire to own these statues because they're so expensive. What do you think, Mark? Is this a pickup for you?
But they didn't say the scale though, did they? Because I kept trying
It's
to find
1/10.
it. 1/10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
110.
When they first came out, it was like, oh my god, this is a new awesome line because everything, like all the original releases of the Lord of the Rings, were like $100. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I got Frodo for like $75, and I think I got Gandalf for like $115. I was like, oh, that's not a bad price. But everything they come out now, it's like $160, $170, and at that point, I'm like, and then a couple of the bigger ones are like, if there's any kind of action pose or anything, it's like $200. And I'm like, nah. At that point, I'll just go back to collecting 6 scale figures or just going, the statue route because it's too small and too high a price. It's like a Kotobukiya with Star Wars. It's like, why would I pay $100 for a 6-inch figure?
Yeah.
yeah,
So but this again, you heard everything I said about the Witch King. I'm not going to beat off a dead horse here, but I mean it's just such a cool helmet, dude. I want to wear that shit. When the zombies come, that's what I'm wearing.
Wow.
good choice.
So, Mark, let's introduce the main segment, and I'll let you take over from here.
Yeah, when we were all talking, a couple of you guys, Danny and Zach, you guys hadn't read the books yet, and you guys were asking me questions, so I kind of hit you guys with the task of listening to the audiobook, and when COVID happened, before COVID happened, I had read the books one time. Since COVID happened, I mean, it's the books 3 times, audiobooks. Wow. I'd say I probably listen to the audiobooks a dozen times. I mean, literally, because when you're at work, you got nothing else to listen to. I've listened to, everything under the sun, and then with COVID, everybody, I just want to and with the last Star Wars movie, I just wanted to shut off from the rest of the world. And man, I went deep into Middle Earth, like real deep. So and I've read Untold Tales. I have the Silmarillion, and I've opened it up plenty of times. I've listened to it on audio, and it's so hard for me to finish it because it doesn't read like a book.
Mm-hmm.
It reads like a dictionary, so it's hard for me to keep track. So I mean, there's so much, but this book, there's certain things you're different, but as far as book and movie, this makes the movie so much better. When I watch the movie, I literally get Samwise Gamgee emotional. When you read the book, Sam cries a lot, dude. I'm the same way, man. Certain scenes, certain movie scenes carry so much more weight in this book. Like poor, I'm telling you, it just puts weight to everything,
Yeah.
Like the whole relationship with Gondor, Faramir and stuff like that. It just puts so much more into that family of the stewards. Anyway, that's a discussion. So let's just get started on that then.
Yeah, Pete, what did you think about it? Your first impression reading the book?
I love the book. So I'd read it. I'm reading I think they're about 35 years old, my copies of the book. So I must have bought them when I was about 11. Yeah, love the book. I think it's well known that obviously the certain character of Tom Bombadil is quite a
absolutely not.
It's quite a hurdle for people to get over, to be honest.
When we discuss the negatives of the book, we're gonna
you pick this book up and you think it's going to hit the ground running, and then you kind of get stuck in this mire of stuff. But I think once you get through there, it's brilliant, and it just adds. It's just more of the lore to it, and obviously there's 2 or 3 kind of key moments that are either not in that are moved from movie to movie. I don't know if you want to go through that now, Mark, or we're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk. We're going to have it.
But that's a brilliant book. Definitely recommend reading it if you're a fan of the movies.
And real quick, Pete. Now you're probably the only one here that read the book before the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think when you were watching the movie for the first time?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I mean, I kind of got into all the hype and everything, and as I say, there's a few beats in them that you kind of go, oh, hang on a minute. I think I was aware that Tom Bombadil was going to be cut, so that wasn't a surprise. But obviously, there is some timing changes and where they've moved things. So, having watched the movies, knowing the story, there was a few kind of like, oh, okay, so they've done that, So, but
it's how they did it. Right?
I couldn't have. I fell in love with it. I thought it was starting to feel like nobody could ever actually put this thing on film and do it justice. And
right.
Peter Jackson nailed it. Yeah.
What do you think, Danny?
Well, I watched the movie first. Then I didn't even read the book. I did the Cheaters version and listened to the audio twice. So, I enjoyed it, but I guess it's similar to comics. I always read the original comics first for X-Men, Spider-Man, all those movies, and then later on they made movies, and I always felt they didn't, reading the comics first, I felt like they left out a lot of things, and then watching the movies first for Lord of the Rings, and then later on going back to listen to the audiobooks, I felt a lot of the stuff that they did cut out was pretty right on, or should have been, I guess, because because there's they explain a lot of stuff with the hobbits more, which I kind of like too, because I wanted to get into their world more. But
it wouldn't fit.
But it was 9 years since I guess Bilbo and
17
Gandalf
years.
left. Oh, it was 17. I thought it was
17
9.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the movie, it felt like it was only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If that.
And we'll get into that in the discussion.
Yeah.
Discussion.
But and then there's like characters that I wish, like later on that I did research about.
Yeah.
I just felt like they should have. I wish they kept them in like Glorfindel.
Glorfindel, and then
Yeah,
or like Gildor and Glorian, some of those kind of some of
Yeah.
those elves. Yeah, for sure.
So those were some of the characters I wish they probably would have shown, like finding out more info about them later on,
Right.
instead of just having Arwen, I guess.
Right.
But
How about you, Alex?
Yeah, so I haven't read the books in a while, but compared to the movies, well, yeah, so I saw the movies first, and I definitely think Fellowship of the Ring is like the best of the three in terms of following the book. But if I remember right, yeah, I think from the book they like cut out like 4 chapters from the Shire parts, like in the start, to make it into the movie, which definitely makes sense to speed things up and get the story going. So I understand that. But yeah, I mean, I love both the book and the movie. So yeah.
I really like the book. I did the audiobook, the one that Mark recommended, and it's not really an audiobook. It's more like a
Radio drama.
like a radio drama, because there's music, there's voice acting, there's special effects. It was good. There was, like Mark and Pete said, getting past Tom Bombadil was like hard. Like I was like, I don't know if these books are for me, man.
Yeah.
That character was just such a hurdle to get over. And like when I finally thought it was over, then he was there. It was like another
Yeah.
chapter.
He came back again.
What the fuck, dude?
It's like one of those when Frodo starts singing, you start panicking. You're like, oh shit, here he comes.
Yeah, some of the singing stuff was pretty bad. There's this one scene where I think it's Sam is singing, and I think it's either right after, I believe it's right after the Tom Bombadil thing. And it just like, for like days, I had that stupid song stuff.
So does this
in my
guy
head.
sing these songs?
when
Have
he's
they been
singing-
put
when he's
together?
singing
Yeah.
Oh,
When
no.
he's singing about the trolls.
I'm gonna see if I can
It's a-
find the song.
See, I didn't. I read in the book. I didn't read any of the lyrics of the. I just skipped through them.
In the book I skipped through it, but in
Yeah.
the audio version it's
You can't.
hilarious.
he does
But-
the
and that's-
women's voices too, right?
Yeah, and that's the one thing. As high of a production value it is,
Stop shouting.
I'm sorry. As high as the production value it is, as soon as he does, like Arwen's voice when like her like she, what's that word? Tremors like around Aragorn, and he's like doing this little like shaky woman voice. I'm just like, oh my god! It took me. I had to like stop listening. I'm like, why am I? I had to walk away. It was,
God, I'm
it was
trying to
pretty
find
rough.
that song, dude. It was so bad. As far as favorite things for me, and then we'll go down the list that they changed from the movie. Obviously, the Tom Bombadil thing. I'm super glad they cut that. It is interesting because in the book, it doesn't specify there's a time jump between, Gandalf leaving the Shire and then them leaving the Shire for the actual adventure.
You mean in the book? You're saying
No, in the book,
it
it's a
doesn't-
very clear time.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you
time
said in
gap,
the
but
book it didn't. I'm
in
sorry.
the movie,
Maybe.
it's kind of like ambiguous. And the next time we see Frodo, he definitely has aged a little bit. And I was reading in Reddit, like some people think that time jump still may have been preserved in the book based on some of the dates, but I don't know. That's the thing I'm most curious about in the actual movie, if there is any amount of time that passes, because like you guys said, it feels like it's like just like a week or two. But in the book, I think it's like 17, 18 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I kind of have something to say about that. Later, Aragorn says his age in an extended scene, and so the year he says would be after the time jump. And so I think that like it's just, you could think of it as like movie magic, that just the way it's cut goes through the time jump without even telling you, and it could happen.
Yeah.
But or the movie universe just starts the same year as after the time jump. But yeah, they never really clarify.
And that's hard part about skipping through, because Pippin says, and when he's in the White Tower, he says that he's 29 years old and not quite like a man yet. So if you go back 17 years, then Pippin should be 12 years old. So I mean, there's certain things that they have to skip past. And as far as the time jump, none of the time jump, like saying, okay, there was a time jump, bothers me, except how much they aged poor Bilbo. Like, literally, they didn't say when they went to Rivendell he was on death's door, because it was like, dude, it's like, oh my gosh, what, what the hell, like he's been doing, like, what do you want? Did you go on drugs when you left with the dwarves? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, I always
It's a
interpreted
little-
it as like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I always interpreted it as when he lost the ring, like in the movies, he rapidly started aging, and that's why. But I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
different than the book.
Yeah, me
in the
too.
sense that he shouldn't have aged that much. But you can continue. Sorry.
No, you're perfect. And then when this is skipping
Wow.
to the end, the Return of the King. I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna die before the boat gets wet. You know,
Yeah.
just like it was like completely unnecessary because then it was what, another 2 years. Because
Yeah.
the travel
Yeah.
took them a year, and then they went back to the Shire, and then that's when Frodo kept getting sick from the stab wounds, and then he sailed off. So it was like 2 years, and I'm like, man, 17. You thought 17 years was bad. Look at that, 2 years. You know, it's like a twin
Yeah.
son effect with
The
know,
fucking Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably my part that I think I was glad they changed. But also the White Council scene, I think it was better in the book. It went a lot more
Way
in
better.
depth about the
Yeah.
dwarves and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
And it went on for
Um,
several days as well, didn't it?
that. Yeah. What
Again.
about you, Mark? What do you think is some good changes that they made?
The really good changes they made was the parts they skipped. They skipped completely. In the movie, they literally, it was hard for them to get out of the Shire. They got trapped by trees, you know, multiple times by Old Man Willow, and then when they were like up on the mountain of Caladras, it was the magic of the mountain. The mountain was literally keeping them from crossing. It wasn't Saruman. So in the movie, they made Saruman's character better in that sense
Yeah.
because they gave him that much more power to. You know, he's bringing the mountain down. You know what I mean? He's sending the birds of the crabine, the crows, and which I mean that was all part of their messengers for Saruman. But so Saruman's character did a lot better in the movie, but then and certain characters like Aragorn, they give him so much more backstory. But the things I didn't like they did with Aragorn, they made him seem like he was like the reluctant hero. You know what I mean? Like he was
Yeah,
like,
totally.
oh, the men are, like his bloodline. He was like disappointed by his bloodline. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't good enough because of his bloodline. I would have been fine with him keeping the shards the whole time, like he had in the book. You know what I mean? And then, but it is a great scene in Return of the King when Rivendell.
Elrond.
Elrond shows up and it's like that super close up and he's like super intense, like, you know, like super intense close up scene, and it's like a cool, it's a cool scene. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I would have liked for him to be proud of his lineage because that's very much in the book, and it works better in the book, you know.
That's what I was
And then-
surprised too.
Yeah, and then Merry and Pippin come off like complete fools in the movie, and in the book they do so much more in the books. And when you guys haven't listened to the Return of the King audiobook yet, but they do so much more. I mean, they do more than Frodo. I mean, let's be honest. I love Frodo as a character, but that guy, all that guy does is like whine and get stabbed the whole way there and the whole way back, and they shouldn't even listen.
How
They
dare
shouldn't
you.
take any, because literally that's all he did was get stabbed the whole time, and poor Samwise carried him the whole time, you know. So, but I mean, but then really when we're talking about the Balrog, that whole scene with the Balrog and how they, because Frodo wasn't stabbed by a giant troll. He was stabbed by a captain orc that was just regular man height. All that stuff, that action part where it like, you go from a book to a movie. Peter Jackson did an awesome job. You know, when you're in Hobbiton, you feel like you're in Hobbiton. When you're in Moria, you feel like you're in this great mines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is literally, I have no, like in the end, I have no faults between the movie and I have no faults with the book. The only two, and real quick, the only couple things I'll say, I am actually more in love with the theatrical version because I've watched the hell out of the theatrical version before I saw the extended cuts. Some of the extended scenes are really good. Some of the extended scenes, they didn't need to put in there. You know what I mean? Like the ones in the beginning, like they add the Sackville Bagginses in the extended scene, and then it makes the hobbits look like they're a bunch of dumbasses. You know what I mean? Like no wonder these people are living in holes. You know what I mean? And then there's but then there was that what scene was it that really really bothered me? And I can't think of it now. But I mean, for me, out of all the extended movies, I like the other two extended movies better. But for me, the theatrical cut of The Fellowship is still probably the version I like most.
Yeah, I think like you touched on as well, that one major difference is that they reforge the shards of Narsil right at the beginning when they leave leave Rivendell for the. And it's kind of just matter of fact, like we've just done it. Here you go, Aragorn. Here's the sword,
Right.
And he carries that all the way through. Whereas obviously the way they do it in the trilogies, in the movie trilogies, to save it until Return of the King, and I think it's it serves a purpose. It kind of, I think Aragorn's at the point where he's kind of he wants to give up and everything like that, and then all of a sudden there's this huge kind of like talisman of good versus evil, and I think that works well. And obviously the other major difference is that they bring Boromir's death forward, because he doesn't die until the beginning
I
of
remember.
Two Towers. But again, it makes sense because it gives the first movie a very dramatic end, and that you suddenly you lose one of the nine, and it's like it's the first kind of real tragedy. I suppose Gandalf's already gone. You think Gandalf's dead, and then Boromir's gone. So I think that worked well as well, and that was only just a slight time shift between the movies, between the books and the movies. But yeah, I love it, and I think the changes, from my point of view, what they left out and what they moved about worked really well.
Like one of the things I liked about how the movies handled it was I guess the whole prologue scene where they told the backgrounds of the Second Age, the last alliance of men and elves.
Yeah.
So
That's
I thought
good.
that was pretty well done, putting in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So
Real
you get
quick,
an idea of it.
real quick, not to cut you off there, Danny. They actually do that in the book. They skip that in the audio version.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, but it's awesome how they do it in the movie, though. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Dude,
just wanted
that's
to throw
what-
that out.
That prologue scene in the movie is pretty much the single scene that hook, line, and sinker for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like that's why I'm excited to
With,
see this
Galadriel's
Amazon show,
Voiceover.
because I want to see like what leads up to that point. There's also I guess the books, they gave a little bit more background about Frodo's parents. I guess because they drowned. Like we didn't even know about that in the
Yeah, that's
movies,
kind of
right?
stuff I actually like that they kept out.
Oh really? Okay.
That they
Because
that,
they made it kind of like a they just passed away, and I didn't know what happened to them in the movies.
right. So it was kind of cool. That's why I said that's one of those things that was cool reading the book afterwards. Is you're finding out information, but they didn't need to put that in the movie.
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, like you said, book wise, it's cool to find that stuff out and find out about how he had, how he adopted Frodo and stuff like that.
But speaking of Bombadil, like one of the few things that I liked about his part of the book, like when he gives the hobbits their knives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of explained how it works in Return of the King.
Yeah,
like
when the Witch King
movie
dies.
spies. Yeah, like they're magical knives that were used to attack the. I guess.
Yeah, they weren't dull knives that Aragorn gave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was one cool part that I was like, oh, okay, that totally explains what happened in the movie Return of the King with was it Mary? Or was that Pippin?
It was Mary that stabbed the.
Yeah, it was Mary.
yeah,
Mary
in
and what's her name?
Yeah.
Erwin?
Eowyn.
Eowyn.
And in the extended
Eowyn.
fellowship, I think Galadriel gives them the blades, but they never mention them being magic or like stronger, which they they could have done that to set up for Return of the King in the movies a little bit better.
Yeah.
And in the Return of the King, that part, it would have been cool because they show that Eowyn was in like the House of Healing with Faramir. It would have been cool to show her like, I guess never mind. They did it in the extended version. I keep thinking theatrical cut. The extended version, it shows that she had she looked like she died. That was missing in the regular cut. But it was cool. I mean, because it was the same thing with Mary. Mary was in the same situation with himself. But it was cool as hell in the Return of the King watching the little hobbits run ahead of everybody. When Aragorn gave his speech, then they get overtaken. So, I have no gripes with any of that.
There was another thing with, I guess, like in the books, they were explaining like Frodo's, like I guess after Frodo got the ring and he got stabbed, like his senses got sharper at the night in the dark.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
didn't.
think- Yeah, they
didn't
didn't explain that in the movies,
explain
right?
that in the movies at all. That everything was set heightened. Like they could have added this in the Galadriel scene just a little bit, because in the book she says, "Oh, he's like, why don't I have power?" She's like, "Well, you noticed my ring," and then she tells Sam, "You didn't notice my ring." Well, Sam didn't see it. Well, he can see it, and he starts to see the other. He starts to see the spiritual, because there's a lot of like spiritual stuff, like Catholicism type stuff, and you see it when Arwen shows up. Remember Arwen's glowing? It's because
Yeah.
she's part of the spiritual realm. Well, she's not, but Glorfindel. When Glorfindel shows up in the book, he's shining because he's one of the great kings. He exists in both realms. It's the
He's
same
got
way.
the Jesus girl.
Yeah, when he puts the ring on and he can see all the Nazgul. Well, the Nazgul are in the spiritual realm. That's the only way
Yeah.
he can see them. So I mean, it was cool how they did it in the movie. Like when he's in the spiritual realm, it's almost like, it's like scary as shit. But in the books, when they put it on, they don't even know that they're invisible until they notice that people don't notice them. You know what I mean? And Tom Bombadil does that shit where he
He
flicks
doesn't
the
even
ring
go
around.
invisible.
No,
He
because
puts it on, he doesn't even.
because he's that powerful.
He's a
He's
fucking idiot, dude. I fucking hate
he
that.
completely doesn't need to exist. He has no purpose.
Okay,
He like
spoilers.
breaks everything
does he
about the
show up?
universe.
Does he show up in the rest of the books? Like
In the last
books?
one.
No,
Yeah, in the last one. Gandalf stays with
in
him
the
for a
last
few
one-
years.
Yeah.
okay.
Gandalf says, "I'm going to go have a long talk with, Tom Bombadil."
Tom
One I haven't
Bombadil.
had in a lot of years, and I'm like, why would you waste your time, bro?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank God I
another
didn't have to
small
read that
nitpick
chapter.
is I guess in the books, all the elven swords seem to glow when orcs or goblins are around, and only in the movie it's only Sting.
Well, I think Peter Jackson, Alex mentioned this,
Oh, yeah.
but he said that they look like lightsabers, so he didn't want them
Yeah.
to all be glowing.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
You kind of lose your effect a little bit when everybody's got it.
All these
But I like
motherfuckers
when
Yeah, it
are-
makes
I guess
Sting a
like
little bit more special, I guess.
Yeah.
Aragorn pulled out his knife and he was like, "Oh, it's a light glow," so that means they're far away, but they're kind of
Ah.
close.
That's cool.
And real quick, when we're
So-
talking about nitpicks, one thing too is my poor man Gwai here. They make it seem like he's just like, like Gandalf
Lord
talks to a
Uber.
moth, and then he just kind of listens. But in the book, Radagast, and it's the only time Radagast is in this movie. In this book, I'm sorry. And he's like, for 2 seconds, he tells Gandalf to go to Saruman, and then then Gandalf tells Radagast, tell all your friends, the birds, to bring any information to Isengard. So in the movie, they just make it seem like, oh, he saw a moth, and then he called Gwaihir, and then he got out of there. Well, at the time, Gwaihir was bringing the news to both Saruman and Gandalf because nobody knew he had turned at that point. I think they could have, you know what I mean? They could have gave the Eagles a little bit more, because I think the Eagles are cool, cool
Yeah.
figures in the movie. And
They
like,
really
I mean,
didn't do a lot with the Eagles, like explaining it. They just sort of show up.
and we
every
talk
time.
about the Balrog in the movie. The Balrog is way oversized, but it looks perfect. In the movie, the Eagles are almost undersized because in the books, the Eagles get almost 50 yards. Some of like the greater Eagles, almost a 50-yard wingspan. So that's 150 feet.
Wow.
I mean, that is crazy big. I mean, I guess that doesn't work either. I mean,
One thing about the Balrog scene, it is so good in the book. Even if you just want to, like, if you don't want to read the full audiobook, you just want to hear that one scene, it's its own chapter. I highly recommend it. It's fucking great. Because Gandalf kind of encounters it in Moria, and he doesn't really understand what it is, but he's like, holy shit, like, I've never been so exhausted. He's like, I need to sit down and take a break. And then it, comes around the corner, and he's like, fuck.
yeah, you look.
Yeah, it just adds a little bit of realism because in the movies he's pretty OP, but to see him I've never been so exhausted in my entire life, it kind of puts it
Yeah.
into context how powerful the Balrog was for him.
Yeah.
But in the movies, he kind of seemed like he knew it was there and he was afraid
Yeah.
to go there.
Yeah, but it'd be
I
cool because in the book he casts a spell, the strongest spell he can, and then the Balrog broke right through that spell. So he said the counter spell had to have been crazy. And again, the Balrog is a Maya, or however you pronounce
Maya,
it.
yeah.
Same. So he's equal plane with Gandalf.
Yeah.
Now there's 5 wizards, and 2 of them go off east, and the blue wizards you never hear of them again. And in the lore, there's only been 3 to 7 Balrogs or something like that, and this
I
is
thought there
supposed to
were
be
5.
the greatest. it's some.
in the first age.
Yeah, I think they said, but I think people had there's 3 now, and then people have tried to count. That's why I said it's between 3 to 7 or something like that. So
Yeah.
like you're talking about these guys aren't a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? And you see Legolas shits himself in the
Oh
book.
shit!
You know what I mean?
I forgot that part.
Yeah, he's like, and then they talk about, and even they, the dwarves delve too deep, and in the book, this is another nitpick. I forgot when they got the Lothorian, my poor guy Haldir looked like such an asshole. You know what I mean when they showed up, because he's just like, oh, you guys brought bad juju. You got to
Wait,
go.
is he the guy that blindfolds Gimli? He's like,
Yeah,
this
he's got it
motherfucker
blindfolds
can't
Gimli,
see.
yeah.
What a fucking
Yeah.
dick, dude.
Yeah, and then when they finally get to Galadriel and Celeborn's just like, oh, if I would have known you brought that evil. Like when he hears about the Balrog, he said, I would have sent you guys away. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even had you guys come here. And then that's when Galadriel's like, oh, they were just trying to go home. You got to cut them a break kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, but that goes to show, like in the books, they're on the level of Saruman except without the ring.
I think what's
Sauron
great
without
though
the ring.
is once you've seen the movies and you go back and read the books, obviously you see the actors
Yeah.
from the films, and
Yeah.
so it does give it. Whereas before you kind of in a way it's good to have your own view of stuff, but I think you picture it in your head as those characters now, and obviously
Yeah.
what the Balrog looks like and stuff. So I think that's
Exactly.
really cool.
Yeah, because I already had a visual from the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
like a,
So yeah, you had a head
iconic
start,
visual
but,
already. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I can't remember how it was when I first read it, but yeah, it's great to have that kind of a visual canvas to kind of picture what's going on and the scale of it all. That's I think the films did that really well to give the scale of the different landscapes and locations.
If you guys want to check out the audiobook that we recommend, it's the Phil Dragish audiobook on Spotify. Yeah, I don't know where Mark went. He just got up and...
Dude, our host left.
He put the ring on.
Also,
I don't
speaking
know.
of audiobooks, I want to recommend one too. If you look up Blue Fox, The Hobbit audiobook, it's like the same thing where it has music and like voices and sound effects, but for The Hobbit, and it's based off the movie interpretation of the voices and whatnot. So I think it's really cool, and especially it goes well with my edit if you want to listen to the audiobook and then watch the movie. And I just want to recommend that. He's also actually going to do an audiobook for some of the unfinished tales, like the Durrance folk, which is pretty cool because I don't think that's been done before. So yeah.
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 Alex, let's skip this next segment so we can get into your audiobook. I have no idea where Mark went. But tell us about this edit that you've done of the Hobbit trilogy, and we'll start discussing that.
Yeah, so basically, I took the 3 Hobbit movies and I combined it all into one, and I removed everything that wasn't in the book, and that's pretty much the quick rundown of it. But I've worked on it for about 2 years, and I'm finally finished now this summer. And yeah, not only did I want to make it more like the book, but also we all know that the Hobbit movies had some flaws, and not everyone enjoyed them, so I tried to make them a little bit better and fit better with Lord of the Rings so that you can watch all of them together. So that's what I've finished here, and you can see on screen is the artwork that was made. This is a really cool 3D render by my friend Eric on screen. But yeah.
So can you tell us about the process? Like, obviously the editing process is one thing, but sort of how you begin the edit?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Basically, I was rereading the book, and I wanted to make a version of it, for the movie. Sorry, I wanted to make a version of the movie that was like the book. And so I just loaded it all into my editing software. There's a lot of technical stuff to get it set up, but I won't get into that. And so once I had it in my program, I actually pulled up the book online on the other side of my screen, and I just read through it as I edited. And I did that for quite a while. Eventually, when I got through the whole edit, I went back and revised it and decided, even though they skipped some of these things in the book, or there's parts that aren't in the book, I have to include some of it to make sure that the story makes sense for everyone. For example, I think one of the things was Gandalf warning about the orcs. In the book, he shows up literally the last second to say orcs are coming, but in the movie, he shows up the day before. And so I originally had cut him showing up the day before, but I realized, it just doesn't really make sense. unless I
Yeah.
have more of that context. So stuff like that. But yeah, it was super fun to edit. Like that reading while editing. And that was pretty much the process.
So how do you? Because I know some parts of your book or of your edit rather, they're kind of like moving small scenes around, and then some are fairly complex. How do you keep track of that? I mean, I know like with movies they do like storyboards. Like, how do you maintain that continuity? Do you just do it in a timeline, or?
Yeah, so it's just all in the timeline. I mean, I take notes, and the main thing I would say is just constantly rewatching to see, like, you got to put yourself in the mind of an audience who's not seen anything. Like, pretend that this is the first of The Hobbit they're seeing, and just rewatch test clips. So I would do, like, test clips that are short just for transitions, and then I would do longer, like, rewatch this whole section of the movie and pretending I don't know anything and see if it makes sense. So really there wasn't too much, like, prepping other than just sort of editing as I went and then reviewing it. I would say that was the big thing, reviewing it, because I spent like a year revising this project after I spent the first year just straight up making it.
Yeah. I know you wanted to talk about some different scenes that you considered. Do you want to of broach that topic?
For those of you that have seen the edit, you'll know what I'm talking about in reference to what was cut and what wasn't. But and then maybe some of you have seen the older versions of my edit.
Yep.
I know I shared this on my Discord, so if any of you are watching, this will be interesting. But in my first version of the edit, I had originally put flashbacks throughout the Misty Mountain song to sort of like visually show, because you'll remember in the book they go quite in depth explaining the full story, and I thought that was necessary visually, but the technical quality wasn't the best. It sort of felt a little rushed. The song was like 3 verses or something like that, so it was not too long to really show the full story visually. And then I also didn't want to spoil the mystery of Erebor and Smaug. Like, I want to keep that all just you're imagining until we see it. So I actually ended up removing that, and I think most people are pretty happy with that. And if you want the flashbacks, I do have a separate special feature on the disc version, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another big one actually that I was it's not really something I was considering keeping, but sort of the opposite. I had originally cut out the final moments of Thorin and Azog because I wanted it to be like the book where that he dies or he gets wounded off screen and we don't know until Bilbo wakes up. But again, that was one of those moments similar to with the orcs showing up, that it was kind of confusing to just see Thorin fighting, then suddenly we skip to Bilbo waking up and then Thorin's wounded, so I had to re-include that.
It's funny you mentioned that, Alex, because that's what I mentioned to the guys when I watched it. That there's that, obviously, there's no other way you could have got round it, but where all of a sudden Thorin's sword changes from the dwarven one to Orcris, because obviously you've cut the bit where Legolas comes back and gives it to him and everything. But it just made me smile because I knew there's no other way to do it. It's funny. It's like
because he threw it kind of like a Jedi throwing a lightsaber into the orc, and so it's just ridiculous. But it's always one of those things that you can't quite fix. I prefer the alternative
to keep it or not.
It's sort of. It's like, oh, sorry.
You could have left really in party that you could have left a lot. Like if you're going by the book, you could have left some of that even stuff out. That's why I said you did the best job possible, because in the book, Bilbo just gets knocked out. You know what I mean? And then he wakes up and it's over. So. It was like that. Movie-wise, it works so much better the way you cut it.
Just so you guys know, the original battle, I checked it. It was 55 minutes, but in mine it's only 20. So I tried to keep it to have like a good flow and have some good action beats, but it's still massively shortened, and it's not technically perfect in terms of the editing, but it's as best as I could get it. So
I think you have all the important parts in there.
Like, exactly.
This is a look at some of your VFX. We'll play this real quick.
Is this a
trailer?
trailer?
These are by Eric.
I don't think wait, is it on screen?
Oh, sorry. This is by Eric 1894.
Yeah, so he's from my Discord and he's helped me out with some visual effects.
If you want to talk through these, I'll lower the volume.
Oh, sure.
So you can...
Yeah, so you can also pause it if you want, if I'm going to talk too long. But you can see the wounds have been removed from Azog's face, and this is because in the original movies, they were much more Thorin-centric, with him having a bunch of moments with Azog and focusing on that plot. But in my edit, I wanted to remove that and have Azog just be a random orc in the end. So there's no duel with Azog. Right before this scene, it was the out of the frying pan scene. So he wasn't wounded here, and so it'd be kind of confusing to just see a bunch of gashes on his face. So it's been all removed here, which it looks beautiful. And he actually used deepfake technology to re-render his face without the wounds, and then he put it over the original movie and sort of cropped it, and it was super cool.
Yeah, it's cool because he looks like battle worn a little bit,
Exactly,
but without you know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, because you don't need to make his face
he fall on his
perfectly
face.
clean,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it with this this VFX. But we can move on to the next one. I think Zach is gone.
Has anybody else got the power of the buttons?
I don't. think I do.
Zach.
Not on this thing. No, he's running.
He'll be
off
back
his-
any
off
second.
His machine.
Yeah, there's
he
one
is.
more
There he
thing I
goes.
wanted to talk about. I forgot. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, my wife came home and was telling me something.
So yeah, these are more of the shots just fixed. So this is a big one in the edit, but this is a small change. I removed the entire barrel sequence I removed the battle during the barrel sequence, which
Yeah,
is a
good
huge
move.
chunk removed. But then just a small little fix up at the very end. You could see some arrows on the barrels and trying to aim for perfection. So just crop
wow,
those
yeah.
out.
Nice.
Big time.
And there's even one in the background there. One funny thing is you'll notice Keeley was being patched up in one of the shots, and that's never explained in my edit. You only see it for like 2 seconds, but you can just pretend he scraped his leg. I don't know. And right here, this is an awesome one, removing the
This is the
melted
best one,
gold
man.
from Smaug himself.
Now,
Actually-
time-wise,
oh, yeah.
how long does this take? How long does it take to do all that?
Yeah,
Is
so this was all done by Eric, so I don't know the exact answer, but I do know how he did it for this one. He actually took each frame out and put it into Photoshop and manually adjusted it, and I'm sure he used like maybe adjustment layers, so like stuff that
Wow.
he could, and like cropped it so that as he went he could save some progress. It wasn't like each frame was 100% done from scratch, but I do know that it was a very long process. And the cool thing is, and we had to make compromises. Rather than having the whole long shot of Smaug flying out, we made it more of a jump cut. If you remember watching it, it shows him for like half a second or like maybe
Yeah.
a second, and then it cuts away to the dwarves hearing the sound crashing of the gate. And so that's a way to just cover up having to do hundreds of frames of him flying.
Yeah.
Because that would be too much. And actually, it's pretty cool because that scene of the dwarves hearing the crash was actually originally from when Smaug was breaking a pillar inside. And so now I just changed the context that they're hearing the crash of the gate, and that's what is worrying them about the dragon. And I think that it just works perfect.
I like that
Yeah.
much better though.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
think about it,
Yeah.
a pillar versus the whole gate crashing down, I think this one is more impactful.
This was
But yeah,
my
this
favorite.
one was awesome. Yeah, I was completely shocked
Oh,
by this. This was
wow.
the first one he actually did for me, I think. Actually, no, the Thorin one was the first one, and this was the second one. But yeah, I mean, just no words.
Wow.
You just see it yourself.
Yeah,
The kid was
It's a
completely removed.
super tiny little part of this whole scene, but it makes it so much better.
Oh, yeah, because it's
Yeah,
funny
in
in,
my
in the
opinion.
original version, I wasn't able to use these shots because the kid was in it. So Bard actually released his arrow off screen, which is quite unfortunate. It was sort of similar to the sword, the elf sword. That I'd rather have the story go this way, even if the technical quality isn't perfect. But you know what? With this effect, I was able to make it perfect. So
It's super seamless too.
Yeah.
Like it's because I remember in the original cut, like he's talking to the kid, like stand still,
yeah,
like
yeah.
don't worry, like it's
yeah,
fucking.
it gets
clean, dude.
really messy in the timeline, but it all works out in the end. Hopefully.
Dude, that's one of my favorite edits.
Yeah. And there's the other follow-up shot here.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's so much better.
Oh yeah, and it's just I like Bard being the hero himself. The kid was just forced into the plot. It didn't really contribute much.
Yeah, it didn't really add any weight.
And it was a little corny, I think, but that's just me.
This edit is ridiculous.
Yeah, so this one was insane. I think this was probably the hardest one he did, and you know if you know what you're looking for, you might be able to notice the background move a little bit when you watch it. But it's so crazy how
Wow.
in depth he went to. You saw all the layers showing up. This probably took him
Yeah.
several days and hours each day. So it's just awesome. And I didn't even explain what this was, but we're removing Dwalin and some of the orc bodies from behind because the shot of Bilbo looking at the orcs is from early in the movie or whatever, a certain moment, and then the part of him getting knocked out is from later once Dwalin is here fighting orcs. So they've been sort of spliced together, and that's why the
Right.
continuity wasn't perfect. But with this edit, it's much
It
better.
follows the book, yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
yeah, you can see Dwalin on the right side, but then yeah, and this was just removal of Radagast because he's not in my edit at all.
Oh
So
my
just
God,
kind of
yeah.
random to just show him there. And those are all the ones in the teaser, I believe. Yeah, there were a couple
Yeah,
more, but none of them were. They were all had to do with the same stuff. Like there was one more where Bard's kid's head had to be cropped out, but like very minor stuff. But yeah,
No.
Yeah, no
love
offense to Radagast, but him being removed from that is probably one of the most
Yeah.
underrated things in the world.
He's
Like
great.
that was
I
the
love him, I
one.
guess.
That was the one scene when I'm like, is that guy got bird shit?
Yeah, I
on
know.
the
It
side
was
of his
ridiculous.
head? That was like, because when I would originally, when they had shown that first scene, when they showed like a teaser for the Hobbit and they showed all the dwarves, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, this is so cartoon. And there are a couple scenes like when
Yeah.
a couple of the like the fight scenes when it's just like random like headbutting, you know, armored.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
I
know,
could go on for days talking about all those. There's moments where like they hit orcs behind them without even looking, dodging an arrow with a sword,
Yeah,
stuff like
that's
that.
my favourite bit about it, is just cutting out hours and hours of pointless CGI.
That
Yeah.
barrel, that barrel scene.
Yeah, and the one where they escape from the goblins, and
Oh, yeah.
they're all tumbling, and then this bridge is falling, and then how did they not die? And then but
Exactly.
your one is just kind of like you just see them running, and then
Yeah.
and then they're out, they're gone.
The goblin escape was originally 4 minutes, and my edit is just 1. And there's
Yeah.
some argument to be had that you could just remove it all and have them run
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But I mean, you want
Yeah,
that
no, I thought you
audience to
did
have a
well.
little bit of fun with
Yeah.
the action and the
Yeah.
soundtrack. You don't want to just skip it all the way. But that's just my thought.
Yeah.
So, being that we've all seen it, was there anything that was left out that you wish was added back in that wasn't cut? Well, I guess we'll start with Mark.
But no, I mean, because I've started, because Zach sent this to me. I've actually started watching a couple different Hobbit cuts because I was like, oh, is there any way to watch this like one film? And I had to stop watching a bunch of them. So, but no, I have literally have no issue with this one. But I enjoy the 3 movies alone. But like when I sit down and I'm like, okay, let me pop a movie in. The last thing I'm going to do is like, okay, let me do the trilogy, because there are so many scenes you feel like you have to skip past it, where you're going to lose interest, or you're just going to like, you know what I mean? I like to be entertained the whole time. And like certain things, because I know a lot of times when Zach told me about this, some people, when they edited it out, they edited out like the whole like Gandalf fighting with the goblins scene. And I'm like, listen, he
Yeah.
kills the goblin. That's a legit story. Like people are like, oh, he's swinging a bow or whatever, he's swinging a stick and a staff. I'm like, no, I actually like that. That's the stuff that doesn't bother me. The
Yeah.
stuff that bothers me is them dancing around on freaking barrels and hopping around like they're like weight doesn't mean, gravity doesn't
Yeah, the
mean anything.
physics.
And
Yeah,
the
the
whole
physics.
Legolas crap as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
like
just- Yeah.
And I didn't mind like some of like the okay, this is Alex's cut's perfect. As far as the movies, like the things like, the weird sexual tension between Galadriel and
Oh yeah.
Gandalf?
Gandalf.
Yeah.
I'm like, are these
What
two?
the hell's
I'm
that?
like, this lady's married. I'm like, are these two gonna do it? And then I'm like, and then you
She
have
wants his staff.
then like and then Gimli's all like up on her. I'm like, what the hell? Like I'm like, is this guy like? They have like some kind of weird like Jada and Will kind of thing going on.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I mean that part like I still enjoy the 3 movies alone, but there's scenes where it's like complete eye roll. You know what I mean? When
I don't think I could ever watch the originals again. This
what's
is the only way I can watch this now.
Thorin's? Well, that's what I said. Once I watch this now, I literally went and watched the trilogy after I saw the cut. So now it's funny. Now that you said that, Pete, it's like I don't imagine like if I'm gonna pop something in, I'm gonna pop this edit in.
You just watch
You know
them
what I
for
mean?
one last time, just for nostalgia,
Yeah,
and then it's
yeah.
like, this is how you're going to watch
But
it.
yeah,
from
it
now
is
on.
interesting to see the originals if you haven't seen them for a while to
Yeah.
compare to my edit. I mean, obviously that's 8 hours, but still, to see the difference.
What's Thorin's cousin's name? Dane? Is it Dane? Right?
Yeah,
Dane.
Dane.
Yeah.
When he shows up,
Foot.
I'm just like, this guy is a cartoon character. Like
He's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's
I
cool
love
though.
Dane.
yeah, but it does.
CGI Billy Connolly.
It's too much. I'm like, okay, so these goblins don't do anything. You know what I mean? And I was fine with them leaving out, like, in the books, there's like a little bit more about the wolves and why why the 5
Yeah.
armies come together. But I literally have no problem with it. I love this cut, and I'm glad Alex did it.
I was
And
going
I
to
can't
ask you
wait
a
to get the copy.
question, Alex. The
Sure.
bit where I think just not too long before the interval with the intermission with the wolves in the trees and stuff. I can't exactly remember how it's played out in the books. I've not read The Hobbit for a
Yeah.
while, but is the intention that the orcs aren't there at all? And it's
No,
just the,
so I'll just give a full rundown on it. Basically, so yeah, in the books, in the book, what happened was that, from what I remember, the goblins wanted to chase them, but they couldn't go out, so they sent the wolves after them
Yeah.
to just get revenge for killing the Goblin King. And then while they climbed up the trees, the wolves couldn't get them, so the orcs were coming, or sorry, the goblins. That's what happened there. In the original movies, then they added a bunch of orcs and they added Azog with the wolves, which to me wasn't the end of the world. It was mainly Azog. So in my edit, the orcs are still meant to be there for a couple reasons. Number one, at the start of part 2, they call it an orc pack, and we see Bilbo looking off in the distance. At the very start of part 2, he sees some orcs. So I really just kind of gave up with the idea of only having wolves. I mean, that was my original intent. So now, I mean,
yeah,
there's
that's
a couple
interesting
orcs
because I
in
saw,
here and there.
because I saw a couple of shots just of the orcs, and I was kind of thinking,
Yeah.
was that intentional or? But yeah, that makes sense. So that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
and it's unfortunate that you can't really explain why there are orcs there. It's just they sort of are, you know. And
Yeah.
the best I could do is, if you remember at the start of part 1, there's a scene where they hear orcs. It's in my latest version. It's the scene that originally had the Moria flashback, but I've removed flashback, so it's just Bilbo is curious, what are those sounds? And that's an orc pack.
That's
so it's
it.
planted in the audience's head.
Yeah.
That, you know, they're orc packs. So then they finally show up at the end. But you know, it's as best as you can do with the
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
thanks.
What about you, Danny?
Oh, I think he's muted.
You're on
Danny's
mute, bro.
Sorry. Yeah, I liked it, man. It was like, I guess everything that needed to be cut out is perfect. Like, we didn't need, like Mark said, the Galadriel, like Gandalf, you know, crushing on Galadriel, the Tario and Keely.
Oh no, yeah,
That stuff was, I mean, like Tario and just completely gone is perfect. And then the kids also. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if you
bunch
want a
of-
version of the book on screens, that's pretty much what mine is. And I remember we talked a little bit about it. There were some scenes I think you missed, Danny, which I totally
oh
did.
yeah.
Yeah. And like,
So like
know-
I never
yeah.
read the books. Like I guess
Exactly.
visually, I guess there's
Yeah, I mean,
two
there was
scenes.
some cool stuff that wasn't in the book that I
Yeah.
could see, but yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess in the beginning of the original cuts, they had you saw a little bit of the backstory of the dwarves.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to see that in Erebor.
Exactly. Yeah, because those are really great flashbacks. I agree, and like I said earlier, I did include them on the special features. You have to download the Blu-ray version, which is a pretty big file. But I do love the flashbacks. It's just in terms of being like the book. It's one of those things that it didn't quite fit for a couple of reasons.
The other scene, I think, just selfishly visual. Like I thought the
Dumbledore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
the ring wraiths
Dumbledore.
came and they were fighting Elrond and Saruman and Galadriel came.
Yeah.
Like that was a cool. And they
Yeah,
touched
it was
about
definitely
it in,
a cool action scene. But yeah, just I didn't think it quite fit. Just with, like the CGI magic and stuff. It just wasn't like the spirit of the book. But again, if you haven't read the book, if you haven't read the book, then I can understand why.
But I like how it was referenced in Fellowship when
Oh,
I was
yeah.
listening to the audiobook. Like how Gandalf,
Yeah, he
first
mentions
encountered the
Dumbledore.
necromancer.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and actually one more thing with that. Yeah, I think part of the reason I really fully committed to removing Dol Guldur was I felt that Fellowship of the Ring does a great job of setting up Sauron on its own. So if you watch all four, it's like you don't really need the Dol Guldur. Like, sure, maybe if you love Middle Earth, you want to see more Middle Earth. I get that, but like, it's not like it's essential. To
it's just eye
explaining-
candy.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that would be cool to see.
Yeah,
But other than that, yeah, I love your cut.
thank you. Yeah.
I think the only two
Or
things
edit.
I would have changed. I already talked to you about one of them, the plate scene. I wish you did the whole
Oh,
plate
yeah.
scene because it's like my
Because
favorite.
it's
part
in
of
the
movie.
book too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can explain it just quickly, but he means in the originals there was like I think it was a little bit longer. There was another stanza in
Yeah.
the song, but I cut that out because in mine I thought some of the CGI plate tricks were just a little too ridiculous. So I wanted to remove them for like the tonal reasons. But then that
Yeah.
meant unfortunately I had to cut some of the song, which I love the song, but just the visuals didn't quite match what I was going.
I would have kept that in if that was me. And the only other thing I didn't like, and I know why you did it, and I get why you did it, but I feel like in a way maybe it could still work because it is like a prequel. Like you're not like no one's ever gonna watch just this movie and then never watch the Lord of the Rings, right? I think in the scene where Smaug confronts Bilbo and he like kind of like brushes next to him and he says like you have something on you that's precious and it flashes to the Sauron eye. personally, I would have kept that, and I totally understand why you took it out. But you replaced it with the close up of Smog's eye.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
Yeah,
But
I totally understand that. Yeah.
I think because you see that eye, I believe, pretty quickly into Fellowship, like within the first hour, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I think that would have been, for me, I would have kept it, but it's not in the book. We've talked about it on our show on CW, but it's like the book was errated to add like more weight to the necromancer and more weight to the ring.
Yeah.
But for me personally, that's really the only edit that I kind of missed from the original, because it's like it would be like a quick thing, like boom, and then it kind of you kind of have
like
that
a
visual
subtle
going
reference,
into
you know?
exactly going into Fellowship. So I can imagine, like, I mean, there's movies that drop little hints and then the hints
Yeah.
are answered in
I
the
can see
next
that.
movie. For me, that's the only thing I think could have been better. Other than that, it's great. I mean, cutting out, I think it's over 50%.
Oh, yeah, it's like
the,
51%.
trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah. With the Sauron, I wanted it to be sort of I mean, I know you already know why, but just for the viewers, I wanted it to be a little bit like more self-contained, so that you don't see like a random Sauron eye when we don't know who Sauron is, but then in Fellowship we do.
Yeah.
But I can see, if you're watching all four in a row, then the reference wouldn't be as out of place, because it would be setting up then later what you would see in Fellowship.
Yeah. That was really my only small.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's your complaint, then that's amazing, because
Hey,
that's
man.
like a super minor thing. So
Yeah.
you guys have been super nice, and like if anybody disagrees with my edits, that's perfectly fine.
You're
Because
wrong.
at the end of the day, I made this project really just for me, and then I decided, you know what, I'll share it, and it turned out a lot of people like it. So that's just amazing.
Yeah, I think it's great. I watched it with my 10-year-old son, and I couldn't have imagined sort of sitting through the 8 hours of the originals.
Yeah.
But to sit this down, we watched it in two. It's good that you got the intermission there, so we watched it in two parts, and yeah, he really enjoyed it. And I think, having loved the Lord of the Rings trilogy, when they announced The Hobbit, I think originally it was meant to be 2 movies, and then the studio pushed for 3, and I was thinking, this is going to be awful, because it's a thin book, and so to bring it back down to basically the length of one of the Lord of the Rings movies makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a little bit about the runtime, just so everyone knows. So the extended editions of Lord of the Rings were what I was aiming for runtime. So like between 3.5 to 4 hours. Mine's a little bit longer. I think like a couple minutes than Return of the King, which is like, so that is unfortunate. I really would have liked to be shorter than Return of the King, but in terms of The Hobbit being one contained story, it has a lot more plot threads and events to go over, whereas Return of the King had already the first and second movies. So, but yeah, so it had a lot to go over to get that, the whole movie across. So I understand the long runtime was needed.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant.
Mark, you were gone, so we kind of moved the show sheet around, but let's go through some of the listener questions for our giveaway, and then we'll have you do the drawings. So we'll start with the question from Brenton. Do you want to go and read that and give your answer?
Yeah, from Brenton, he said, could you give more in-depth or insight into the ending of the Return of the King? Specifically, what was the significance of both Frodo and Bilbo joining the elves and Gandalf on the boat? Now, a lot of people think that Bilbo was on the boat just because he was Bilbo the Renowned, because of what he did in The Hobbit. But actually, Arwen gave up her spot to Bilbo because she chose to remain in Middle Earth with Aragorn. So, and then Gandalf was able to go because he was in Astari. He was the Maya, so he was only... Gandalf went to Middle Earth. He doesn't belong in Middle Earth. He went to Middle Earth to fight Sauron. So when Sauron was defeated, he left. So that's why I said a lot of people think, oh, it's just, Bilbo's this good friend of the elves. So then he went. But it wasn't. It was because she gave up her spot. And a lot of people think, why didn't Arwen just go there once Aragorn died? Well, she couldn't have. She gave up her spot. And it's hard to get out. It's hard to go west, because that was how... the Dunedain, what was the island? The Númenóreans. The Númenóreans, their whole, and I would love a story on this, how Númenor sank into the ocean and they were destroyed because they wanted that Western, that they already, Númenor was this great culture, long lived, everything. They wanted that immortality. It's that. What's that? Syphilis? Not syphilis. The guy rolling the stone up the hill. You know what I mean? You get so close, and he just went too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's pretty much. So anytime people say, why didn't R1 just go? Or why did who gets chosen and who doesn't? That's why.
But didn't
later,
Bilbo also have a leg up because he was a ring bearer? Like, just because there was an empty spot, I mean, they would have picked anyone.
But that's what I would have thought too. But it's not R1. I mean, when you're reading the books, that's what you think. But in when you're reading the Untold Tales and stuff like that, they explain that R1 gave up her spot on the boat to Bilbo because of what he of what he did.
Specifically to Bilbo, though, right?
To Bilbo, because of what Bilbo did. And that's another. If we were going to talk about The Hobbit, the only critique I have on the 14 hours, they put so much in the movie. They put so little into how much Bilbo gave up to give the Arkenstone to the elves and to Bard. You know what I mean? He literally he could have returned. They could have killed him. You know what I mean? It plays as like a child thing, but you think about it, you're like, dude, you double cross Thorin, and Thorin is like, this guy, Thorin's like one of those people that tells very dry jokes. You don't know how to read the dude. You know what I mean?
The douche.
He's a complete douche. but still, somehow at the very end, when he's giving it up to Bilbo, he realizes like, dude, you fucking saved our ass so many times.
Yeah.
So,
in regards to Frodo, also, it's just because he was very ill from the effects of being stabbed by the Morgul blade, and then also I believe it's from Shelob as well. The poison was still affecting him from Shelob.
Oh wow.
And that's why he went to the west.
So if he was just a ring bearer itself, like without the wounds, he might have not gotten a spot. Is like what you're saying? No, Bilbo.
I think he still got a spot because if I remember correctly, later when Sam's wife passes away, he gets to go to the west as well because he was a ring bearer.
Well, and that's the thing. He was
a Frodo bear.
No, that's what I say. He is a Frodo bear, dude. He carried that. I'm very much a Samwise. I do a lot of stuff that doesn't get credit, and I cry a lot for a man. But damn, Sam is the real hero. I'm just gonna tell you that. But what was I gonna say? With
wait, I got one thing though. But then doesn't
God damn it, Danny.
Legolas gives Gimli a spot. So how come Gimli gets a spot?
Because of what he
was in the Fellowship,
did.
Baby.
Because he was part of the Fellowship.
He gave him his ass.
Sounds like Bilbo got shafted, really.
Yeah.
He had to have someone.
He had to get someone else.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, can we scoot a little bit? Can we scoot a little bit?
Dude, but Bilbo was just an alternate.
But if you think about Middle Earth, that's why I said Bilbo was such an underrated hero.
Standby seating.
But he didn't. I mean, literally, the Fellowship defeated Sauron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really, Frodo, all he did was take the ring there, and then Gollum there was no railing, so he fell. Frodo did jack crap.
Danny had a question as well. Danny, I'll let you ask it.
Wait, what was my question? Oh, yeah.
Can anyone with a boat sail to the west?
Like, what's stopping people from
force field?
I guess reaching Valinor or Arda.
That was that same thing. Sorry, I kind of like doubled them in together, but that was because that Numenor was that big thing. Numenor, the whole island. I think Numenor sank. I don't know. Alex, do you know? I can't remember it. They talk about the fall of Numenor, like it literally was destroyed and it fell into the sea.
Mm-hmm. So it's something mystical or magical that's preventing.
Well, I thought the west was more like a dimension. It's not like literally going west like 300 miles. Like if I remember correctly, there was only so many boats and so many people that knew how to get there. Knew the process to get there.
Yeah, it's one of those mystical things that it doesn't quite explain it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that Numenor was destroyed because the king tried to sail out west and tried to tap into that, and he was completely destroyed. So, and they too, when they have the Fellowship, because Zach was talking about in the book, they talk about the Fellowship. Like, what about taking the ring out west? You know what I mean? Like taking the ring out there to keep it from Sauron. And they said, no, this ring belongs to Middle Earth. That's why I said I think
the elves are like, fuck that.
Yeah, I think they see the West as like a different. It's like it's like a heaven or whatever. It's a different plane. It's a different like multiverse or whatever. It's not.
So it's like Asgard for like
the
the Norse mythology. Okay.
Middle Earth, you got to think about it like it's two separate planets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Middle Earth
That
is
makes
its
sense.
own Earth. But it's one of those. I mean, it's a really cool concept. And we lost
Thank you.
Zach again.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead and read the next question. Sorry.
Ricardo Valtez. He says Smeagol was a Hobbit, correct? Was it discussed in the first 3 movies? I haven't seen the Hobbit movies in a good while. Now they don't ever explain whether he is Hobbit or not. But in the story that when Gandalf's talking to Frodo about about Gandalf, he said, what did I write here? He says, in the book, Gandalf tells Frodo that Gollum was like a hobbit because of the similarities, answering riddles and things of that sort. And then also, whatchamacallit? And they both knew the same riddles. So he's hobbit-like, but not a hobbit. So that's why I said I don't know. And then and when they talk about when Gildor and Glorian's talking to Frodo, he says, people have before hobbits that say it, there were these people, and then after hobbits there'll be some. You know what I mean? So they're hobbit-like.
He was like from a people before there were normal hobbits. So
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Similar.
Pre-Hobbit.
Pre-hobbit, yeah. The hobbits evolved from people like that. So they had the big feet. They were halfling size.
I've heard that they were like a little bit more manly, like so they could grow beards, but they were still like hobbits, like the group that he was from, that they think. So yeah.
From Matt Bush, he says, where exactly was Gondor when the Westfold fell?
So and it's just like one of those really cool things if you read some of the Untold Tales and stuff like that, because it's completely a movie quote. And obviously, Gondor was losing. What's the city that was along the water that was the passage right next to the White
Osgiliath?
Osgiliath. That's when they lost Osgiliath at the same time. So Gondor was like up to their eyeballs in trouble anyway. But part of the weight of the why he's I think this is cool when you're reading the books. I mean, reading the Untold Tales, because it talks about his son dying. His son dying defending the Westfold. You know what I mean? And that was like part of the treachery of Saruman. When the Westfold fell, they literally, what was his son's name? I'm trying to think.
Theodred.
Theodred. They literally Saruman wasn't attacking the other Rohan. He was literally focusing on Theodred because he knew once he defeated Theodred, it would be easier to, once he's already poisoned the mind of the king, that he would be able to take Rohan over right away. So it just adds that little bit much to that quote. And what a victim. And we'll get to that when we discuss the Two Towers book to movie. The one character that gets the most disrespected from book to movie is King Theoden. You know what I mean? They make it, and we'll talk about it, but the Two Towers, they make Theoden seem like he doesn't want to fight,
Yeah.
and that he's just like this, like, how the hell you listen to the scream of Wormtongue? Which again, that Wormtongue is the biggest, when you talk about the biggest douchebags in all of literature. It's like that dude, he should have been killed a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, his death was the most satisfying death in all of literature for me.
Yeah. Dean the Dream says, why can't Arwen leave for the shores later on in life?
I accidentally answered that question earlier.
Oh, did you? Okay, I thought you did, but I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure you got the credit for the giveaway.
Yeah.
Let's. We got one more question from Garfield. He says, how much better is the theatrical cut to the regular, or I guess he means the extended cut to the regular one. I watched the regular trilogy and it was okay. I love Lord of the Rings, just thought the films were a little bit of a letdown. I probably have a very unpopular opinion.
Yeah, and he had also written about. He had asked, "What was your favorite soundtrack?" So we'll kind of get into that a little bit. But yeah, I don't know if it's that, but that was why I kind of also asked Pete about. You read the books, and I've seen some people that actually hated the movies, which to me
Really?
like absolutely blows. Not hated the movies, but they were just like they were disappointed because I mean I know that was a problem with Tolkien's son, or was it his grandson?
Yeah.
And they were like when this movie came out, they completely weren't on talking terms and stuff like that. But I'm like, listen, and I don't know if it's because I literally think it was because Peter Jackson started getting credit for the Lord of the Rings, is why Because I mean, what a beautiful world that was built here. And obviously Tolkien built the world, but man, I don't understand why anybody would hate this movie, but I don't even understand the disappointment. That is an unpopular opinion because I was trying to think about an answer for this question. I have none because
I
love these
think
movies.
most the casting is pretty much perfect. The visualization of it and everything. I know some of the visual effects might look a little bit ropey now, but But I can't see how he could have done. In my view, how he could have done it better.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, if you separate the book and just think about it, even as its own trilogy, like, they're just masterpieces of movies. And I don't, like, obviously, if you're a huge Tolkien fan, I can understand the disappointment. But for me, the level of accuracy they did reach, especially with Fellowship, like, you start to appreciate the way they adapted it in, the two separate versions of the story. And obviously, the Tolkien one is the main one. But, the movies are great.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't know how you could adapt. What could you have done better? You know what I mean? You can nitpick like a tiny bit here, a tiny bit there, maybe, if you're doing it. But I mean, as far as an overall story, and these movies came out the same time as the prequel trilogy Star Wars. Now, prequel trilogy Star Wars, that's ILM. That was like the top notch. You compare these movies next to each other, the Lord of the Rings trilogy
what holds up
better. And that's when, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't realize, I think John didn't watch the movie until a couple weeks ago. He didn't know these were 20-year-old movies. He thought these movies were from like 4 or 5 years ago. So
they definitely still hold up. All right, so
kicked
Mark,
me
let's do. God damn it, Danny!
Go
Jesus Christ,
Dude, I'm on the panel, bro. I can't.
You said you wanted you asked, and I quote, you said, "Can I be in the thing?" And I said yes, and you're like,
I was just
look at that. Now we broke the website.
I think
God
it
damn
looks
it.
X on
Jump
the...
in interestingly for the
Dude, I have one coming from you, dude. I have a special edition coming from you, right?
You're fucking making me coming right now.
Wow.
4K
All right, so
releases,
we'll do last one standing. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Pete?
I was going to say for the 4K
Yeah, for the
releases,
giveaway.
I'll go afterwards. Go for the giveaway.
Oh, okay. So this is for Voodoo Code. I think it works like on iTunes and everything else. It's the 4K theatrical and 4K extended cuts. So we'll do last man standing. Oh, damn it. I thought hitting spacebar would do that. Sorry.
Come on, big money.
Oh, god damn it. Hang on.
Dude, this thing is rigged.
They're not disappearing.
Okay, I have to remove it. Okay, so it was Dean and Garfield, right? Okay, we'll just do it again. Jeez, obviously not very professional today.
Dude, put my name back if he'll fix it.
I blame Danny. I think when I refreshed the page, it like changed some of the options.
Oh shit, it's between Garfield and Dean.
It's going to be Dean.
Oh,
Garfield wins. Congratulations, Garfield. Hit us up. You have until the next episode airs to claim your prize.
The guy who didn't like the movie.
Right? He's like, fuck it, I don't want to redeem that shit.
He's like, oh, 4K, I love it now.
Pete, let's say thank you to the Patreonies, please.
Yeah, it's a very full slide these days. Shout out to Sean Fear, Ian Seaby, Rene Mendez, Eric Mariscal, Quinn Aguirre, Leo Hernandez, King Louis, Mark Pearson, Paul Schreiber, James Colley, Joao Breda, Equan, Chris Valencerina, Danny Lee, hey Danny, Deanie Martin, Stephen Crett, Big Fern, King Zach, Caesar American, Mike Cruz, Lisa Martin Blomonsky, Rick De Gregorio, Alvin Jules, John the Everyday Collector, Ricardo Valdez, Jose CZ, Bowler Boy, Jimmy James, Mario Cortez, Stephen Purchase, Sean Yardley, Scott Bradley, Stephen Maria Stanley, Jesse Contreras, Eddie Manzanares, Joe Corpus, Louis Bennett, Kevin Vega, and Chip Perrin. Thank you all very much.
Bunch of angels.
Yeah.
These are the September stickers. We got the So Many Bees sticker and the Watto's magnet. Those are going to be shipped probably about September 20th. We have 3 tiers. The Sweet Angel $5 tier. You get stickers sent straight to your door and access to Ox After Dark Rewind. The Certified Crispy $15 tier for the certificate and the stickers. And the What a Guy tier is the doubles of everything we send and the 18 by 24 signed poster. So those are the 3 tiers we have for Patreon. We also have TeePublic if you guys want to buy some shirts. We do have the Ringcast design up there and a bunch of other cool shirts. And maybe we'll get even more cool shirts. Look at that, Mark rocking the shirt.
Very cool.
As far as the network goes, we have Small Talk, CW Live, OFAC, Live and Let Dice, In and Outs of Collecting Weekly Clips, Collecting Weekly Live Unboxing, After Dark, and Ox Plays. We're also on Facebook at Collecting Weekly Auxiliary. Mark, do you have any shout outs you want to give before we cut this one off?
I want to give a shout out to Alex, obviously, for being here.
Thank you. Yeah,
I mean,
it's been a
and
pleasure.
thank you for that cut. It's amazing. The thing about the internet is it like drags you down, but then you find people like Alex who you find this artwork, labor of love that needs to be shared. And I love the edit. I love that we were able to talk
Thank
about
you so
it.
much. Yeah.
And then I'd also like to thank Zach, who, this went a lot smoother. I still have so much work I need to do on how
and live, baby.
Did
yeah,
great,
and
I think.
and just how I talk, and just I have no idea technology wise, because Zach's always like, oh, you go here, and I'm like a newborn baby, man. I just like, I don't know what I'm doing. So he's really, really helped me out, and we've gone a long way since the first one, and I can't wait. This is a big step forward, and we're going to take a larger step. We didn't decide to go live until like 3:30, so it's just incredible.
Also wanted to give a shout out to Alex's website. Put it in the comments. It's m4hobbitedit.wordpress.com. You can see some different previews of the actual edit. He also has links to download it and an update log, so you can see all the different changes that he's made. He also has a Discord on there if you want to check out his Discord. They talk about the edit, people that have watched it share their thoughts, and then Alex is kind of talks about potential changes he wants to make and other things. It's a great little Discord community, so definitely check that out.
So what's your
Thank
next
you.
project?
Yeah, I was just gonna
that's
ask
the
that.
thing. I right now I don't have one planned. Actually, I did make a cut of Titanic where I removed all the modern day scenes, and I actually want to revise that. So basically, if you've seen the movie, you know how there's like old rows. In my version, it was just 1912, and so I kind of want to revise that. But other than that, I don't have any plans right now. It's been a pleasure to join you guys. Thank you so much for shouting me out and giving me so much support. It means a lot.
Yeah, I hope this isn't the last time we hear from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking around. I've been watching a lot of your streams, even when it's not related to Lord of the Rings at all. So it's been fun. Yeah.
We also ordered a extra copy of the produced version of his box set. Mark will put up a post in Ox for how you can win that. We're still kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's on that. And we'll announce the winner for that at the end of the next show, episode 3 of the Ringcast. Big shout out to Mark. He dropped like $1,000 on a computer today just for the show, and like a few $100 on a mic. Yeah, he's got some dedication. Love to see that.
Daddy
Shout out to
Warbucks.
Pete. Yeah, right. Shout out to Pete. He's not feeling well and he's here today, so love to see that. And
Makes me feel a whole lot better being on here with you guys.
Oh
Danny's
my God.
supposed to be here contractually, so I'm not really sure.
Dude, I'm just happy to be able to talk hobbits, orcs, and elves with people.
Mark, what are we doing for episode 3? Do you have a topic in
Okay.
mind, or a character, or
Well,
anything?
we had talked about this, whether we were going to go to movie or whatever, but we should, let's go ahead and decide right now. What do you guys want to do? You guys want to do a certain character? I kind of like, you were talking about Gandalf. You kind of have me Gandalfed up. So I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind a Gandalf, or I know we talked about maybe like a Lego, a whole episode just focus on like the different Lego sets. I think that'd
Well,
be
maybe
fun
we
too.
we should do both. I have to say we should do both.
Well, there's only so much content we don't want to kill. Everything in one
Well,
go.
okay. Or no, what we'll do? Okay, we'll do the Lego, and we'll talk about the video games and stuff like that. So if anybody needs to, we'll play like through the PlayStation 3 version, I guess. Is that the newest? I'll send it to you guys. It's like $9. I can send it to you guys.
I have to buy a PlayStation.
Yeah, I got to do it.
Or you guys got a DS. No, you
Other
can play it
formats are
online,
available.
right?
Well, we'll
guys
figure
have
it out.
We'll
For
figure
sure, at
something
least Lego. At least
Because
Lego.
I plan on I was kind of thinking about buying, because I haven't bought the Helm's Deep or the Tower of Orthanc yet. So I was kind of thinking about buying that and maybe doing an unboxing together
Oh man,
Hell
and
yeah,
kind of like
dude.
live put together.
I
so
want the
maybe we'll
Orthanc
talk
so
about-
bad.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Well, the thing is, I've seen a lot of sets where they're complete without the minifigures. I'm like, no, you have to buy the minifigures. So you just got to spend that extra
Extra cheddar.
hundreds. So
Anyways,
it just proves with Lego you got to get in on the ground floor, otherwise it gets
Oh my
very
God, yeah.
expensive.
anyways, I think today was a great show. Mark,
Yeah.
let's say
Yeah,
goodbye
we're
to
done,
the
Mark.
people of the world.
Yeah.
Or not.
Oh yeah,
Mario.
yeah.
Here at last, on the shores of the sea, comes the end of our fellowship.